Thank you, Father, for all things, for creating every single thing. Nothing is happening by luck or by chance or by free will. This has already been written. All things, everything that ever was not written, everything that ever will be, everything that it already is written is by your creation. And by man is still, you created man and woman, and then you created Adam and Eve. So thank you for this cycle. Nothing new. Deem the pride. Thank you for that's you in flesh, the flesh vessel that you birthed to fulfill the Gentile nation and all these covenants under this. Well, to fulfill the covenants, the old, and make a new. So the testament and that new living will and testament that you made with your bride, and you'll call their name out in the Lamb's book of life. So time is an illusion because it's not being correctly interpreted. Time is a doorway. He says time is no more. So I want to hear time. People don't know what time it is. They have no idea what they're talking about. They think it's 2025 and a year, huh? Yeah, whatever, man. What are you to do? You can't turn a goat, right? They have their time clock, their lunar goat worship, their celebration, their Broadway, their broad, wide gate that they most enter by. So it's not for me to condemn. Man, this camera. So, thank you for Father, even just be heard and not seen. Remember that they haven't seen faith. So thank you so much for faith, and what a blessing it is to have given that blessing and that gift of faith so that we can endure to the end to be saved, to the final trump, right? The last ram's horn, the shofar, the great for oligos, very a tough fraction of the whole, and dreadful for the rest, most, because most are, would you say hell bound? Hell isn't a place. Hell isn't a space. Hell is bis. Hell is knowledge. Hell is not having, stripped of your knowledge. That's what hell is, or not having lack of knowledge. That's the word. Well, that could be determined as an idiot, but that's a little different because an idiot or an idios or idiotos, apologize, is somebody who doesn't know. There have never been sight or sound, never seen it or heard it in their life. So that it's ignorant. It's the same word and that a blessing. So look at this already. Crushing. We're going almost 4 minutes, and thank you for the tube, for the hollow needle, for the crushing. It's Father doing it. So he creates all things. He writes all things. The author, the writer, the other, no luck or free will. So in that case, we're all going to go through the same judgments at one time, and that is the final trump. There's seven trumpets, the trumpets of revelation, and what a blessing it is to be here in that book. Well, days, scripture, the days that were spoken of in the scripture, and now most people have no idea that we're in that testament, in that new covenant, and we're in that last, well, the veil has been lifted, and the eyes to see, but it's spiritual eyes, and it's celestial eyes and scriptural eyes. It's not worldly although you need to be awake and be watching. He said, don't go to sleep. Don't go to sleep. That's spiritually, he's telling it as a spiritual, um, because you've fallen for the world. You have not, in the military, we called it stay alert, stay alive. How about that? So a very similar modern, well, that's military, a little militant, so you have to excuse me. But pardon my, part the ways that would be to separate. That is the word scorpidzo, or the one that causes the sheep to scatter. The divider. Father is the divider of the light, like the one who condemns the wheat, who separates. Put that chaff, bind that chaff, those weeds, and burn them, right? And then gather my flock, my wheat, and put it in my house, in my barn. Imagine that. So, thank you for the word. So we allow Father to be the one that condemn. We give him the ability to afterlife. The vengeance will be, he said, let vengeance be mine. So we can't seek that vengeance, and we have to stand in our faith, take our cross up daily, and die to self every day and be born from above, not again, daily. Again, once. I got born again. And get born again, you're an idiot. So, people loves the word agape, or aleph, leader, ox, like the Shem. Noah had 3 sons, Ham, Shem, and Japheth. That was the second born. So it's all about an inheritance. Remember the second born? Uh, it's scriptural, much to do with the second, like hair. How about Larry Moe and Curly, huh? All right, let's not do that. That had nothing to do with it. I'm just being. They like to put it in movies, so they put the scriptures, and everything, but people don't have spiritual eyes to see it. So they play their uh, silly little reindeer games and television. They play television, and yes, it's not. I try to do this, but everything they get poked at, like stuck, or, well, no, that'd be like, hold on, that's loading. They get loaded, don't they? Huh? Some of these people. That's okay. Father didn't create very many. Oligos is the word. It means a tiny, a fraction, just a small amount of people. Um, it's just a tiny fraction over the whole of this mass rock that we walk. You know what I'm saying? Why do you only care about heaven? Heaven, less time reading fantasy written by desert people, praying, and more time making the world a better place for the next generation. You're an antichrist heart. You speak with your heart. It says the heart is continuously filled with wickedness, and obviously you don't know anything about the heart. You don't know anything about scripture. You're an idiot. You don't know what the word heaven means, because you're an idiot, and you're probably just ignorant, and you just probably even never taken the time to study or have any definition in your pie hole face that comes out of your lips. That might be, I don't know how many sets of lips you got, but never mind. If you're into that phallic nonsense, like great again nonsense, I do care about the generation. That's why I do what I do. You are an idiot. You're not prepared for the future. See, you want to say you don't know what you're talking about. You have to know what the word heaven is. Desert people. I'm a scorpidzo. Yeah, I was birthed in the desert. You got me pegged there, huh? They pegged or staked into a tree. Fantasy? Is that what you said? Did you say somewhere about fantasy? Take your fairy tales. You're that's a demon. You know that? A demon, that's a Celtic. You don't know what you're talking about. Go somewhere else. You're an idiot. Go speak your Babylonian brainwave somewhere. Take your nonsense. You don't make sense like America. Doesn't make even one single penny. Not one. So I don't want to hear more and more word out of you. You have to know what you're talking about, idiot. You got to know what the word heaven is. So grow up, child. You're acting like a child. You'll make an ass of yourself if you try to speak up, and then you won't listen to me and you won't learn, because that's what an ass is, like a mule. You don't have any definition in you. So you must speak definition to be in this channel, to be like you came down your mother's birth canal. Bye-bye. Don't say anything. You'll step on your own dick. I mean, phallic. I mean, cock worship, like January Giannis, kind of like a Gemini Joker, huh? Say one thing, like 52 pickup, like smoking fire, like cards in a deck. You'll get played in here. You're simple checkers, buddy. Jump me once, twice. This is like a 5D chess game that's being played on you by the governments. And everybody believes in a one world government. Never says that once in scripture. Not a one world government, not a one world religion, and not a one world order. Never one time. So don't come in here and try to add to the word because you're an idiot. You don't know what the word heaven means because you're an idiot. It'll give you a little hint. It's not above your head, child. Yep, go away. Girl, don't go away mad. Just go away. Don't let the door hit you where the good Lord splits you. Thanks for your time. Remember an ass? We all have one of those. 2 cheeks to the same hole, wings to the same dragon. Get it? Wow. What'd you step into? He is the Petra, the trap, right? The rock. You could set a fall trap and fall on your head. Or maybe he's the snare that lifts us out of here. But you built your house on sinking sand because you don't know what you're talking about. So you're an idiot and you have to go away now. Come back when you can define what comes out of your pie hole. They were band camp. This one time in band camp, your little spinning circles or balls or whatever, your tin man plate spinning like a saucer circle. Wasn't that a Pink Floyd album? Saucer full of secrets. All right. We don't keep secrets in here, right? Father created all things. He knows. He's inside me. So can't hide from him. You hurt one hair on my children's head. You'd be better to have a millstone. You know what one of those are? I think you are. It might be a little, remember, it was written on stone and be cast into the sea. Sea could be the people. See, remember, you say put 1 foot on the land, 1 foot on the sea, and time is no more. So you'll face judgments if you come against any of his bride. So no such thing as luck. I wouldn't wish you that because no such thing as free will and no such thing as a planet. So go to your Chewbacca, Bigfoot, whatever planet of the apes you live on. And like I said, go hang out with them monkeys. Your barrel full of hey, you guys like these people like games. They get hooked. Remember, like the little arms. They like. All right, never mind. The letter J. They get all hung up on one letter. When it says name, he doesn't mean letters. Well, all of the jots, yods, all of it. The 66 canonized books. He doesn't mean God. That's the title. So get out of here, child. You have to know what Father is. Father is not in the sky. So I don't follow a sky daddy Jesus. You got a sky daddy Jesus. My Father's inside me. He's not in a house or temple made by hands. He declares all these things twice under this covenant because it makes it a contract, not by law bound, but destined by fate. No, that's the law. Not under the law. Not under the Aaron, Moses, Levite, Levitical law. I don't do celebrate anything. We're not supposed to celebrate him one day, and people love their worship and celebration, don't they? They don't read the book. They don't define what's coming out of their face, and they get crushed by the aletheia truth like a hammer comes down on them. Remember, like a trap, like a rock. It's a fall trap. Maybe it'll be the snare to lift you out of there. No, probably not. That's not how a fall trap works. But anyways, remember they'll say, rocks fall on us and hide us from the face of the Lord. So what can you do? The old great and dreadful day of the Lord, huh? Well, no, that's not yet. It's in these books that we're living right now. We are living Revelation right now. That's the cover has already been pulled off, and he sends messengers to reveal to this aletheia. That's truth. It's always been erect, not like some palm tree, that palm or the dogwood or the whatever pine or God. Nimrod was a mighty hunter, the evergreen, right? But hey, hold on. They add A's. There's no A's in the Old Testament or vowels. Oh, his name is Shem, you idiot. And if you did it properly, it didn't say it. There's no vowels in Hebrew. So they like to fight over letters, remember? They get hooked on one letter, and he means this covenant, not of the old. And they don't read the words, so they celebrate and have rituals, and they think it's 2025. They're idiots. I don't know what's wrong with society today. They love their lunar worship. The whole world does it. Like 98% of the world thinks it's 2025. But these, higher ups, if you will, because they're not, that's the ruling class. That's the word heaven, not the sky. Principalities, powers, the rulers of the darkness of this world, spiritual wickedness in high places. But it's not on their heart because, well, it is. No, it's not, because he only writes it on the heart, and he reveals it because they seek it, and they ask, right, and he sups because they knock, and they have the wedding feast. It will happen at the end, and they sup with it daily here, daily bread in the Lord's Prayer. Hallelujah. So give us this day our daily cross bread, OCD, on Christ daily. The oil, you got to be anointed in oil like Christ, he said, right? Not ditty oil, bath parties and baby oil and bubbles part. Oh my goodness. So the old final chump warp speed's falling apart on his base. He just flipped the script on his old base and called a bunch of weaklings, guys. How do you feel about these MAGA idiots falling after this warp speed? Now he says, if you believe this if I'm in EpiPen Island, boy, it's the Democrats that are doing it. And they said it. Remember, Pam had it on her desk. The files, the e-files. E-file, EpiPen Island, boys. Yes, I remember, like a wreck, like a palm tree. They got their palm trees on their EpiPen Island. With Warp Speed Joe, boy, daddy, remember, he let the bite in. So they get the snake bite, the second venom. Get it? 2 witnesses, 2 bites, like a snake, like you're on the tube, the Hollow Needle channel. Who else calls it the Hollow Needle channel? Thank you, Father, for this mystery, no matter what. Still put it down. People last time, 2 World War, they just watched people walk to their death smokestacks. Now it's pit, fire, remember? Eyes of fire, the pit will open, the skies roll back, the skies, meet him in the sky. Like a scroll, like the laws were written on tablets, on stone scrolls. I think they're stoned. Well, a stoning was not by little river rocks. It was by pushed off a cliff backwards to break your neck and your back and kill you. If that didn't do it, they throw boulders at you. Nearly, your accuser got to come in. And then if that didn't break at the last moment, everybody come and finish off with 20-kilogram like bowling balls. Now that's a stoning. See, these people are some other, they think people hung on crosses. Nobody was ever hung from a cross, the image of a people, and he warned about imageries. Nobody hung from crosses. That's not a crucifixion. The Romans were masters at torture, and that's just their favorite way to crucify a man was up from a tree to stretch him back. And first they'd peg him or stake him to a stock, like people are stock cattle that's the weight they carry, the burden of this debt. They're debt slaves. But under the Roman tortures were masters. Remember, John was hung on an X. Peter asked to be hung upside down, and that's your peace symbol sign that people go out and love so much. And that's Antichrist. Peace, Nanu, Shazbot, MAGA, Make America Great Again. Get it? That's all Antichrist. Nobody will sit down and sup with the word. So it looks like the only person had any balls, Bell Balls, to say spoke up, got crushed by the word. So don't speak up about tell me what heavens. I think, was it Marshall Mathers that was in here? Oh, no, it's Heart Matters. Little Eminem, little tricky, little sugar-coated Jesus over here. Thinking that, that's your fantasy Jesus. So maybe they're just sitting in here and shutting up and learning something. But we get a little silent at times, and I know that sometimes it's just apologize if it's a banned channel, like ban. Like this one time in Bandcamp, no, not the ball channel. We expose that you don't live on a planet in here. People don't like hearing that. They don't want to hear that it's not 2025. They want to be with their celebrate Broadway Jesus, right? Their Massey Jesus, their Sex Pistol. Let me see your deck of my A. Everybody get your hands up. They're robbing like a bank, Give a man a gun and rob a bank. Give a man a bank and he'll rob the world. Hey. Diamond, remember Jamie Dimon? He said there's gold and silver and everything else is just credit and their stock. Remember, they hung him from a tree, pegged him or staked him and stalked him to a yoke, and then he carried that and hung from a tree. And that's, nobody ever hung from a cross. That's how much of an ignorant society. That's how all wrong these religions are. All of them. Everybody thinks Christ hung from a cross if they're religious. All their isms and insanities and schisms, Catholicism, Calvinism, Mormonism. There's no prophets walking. There's not one prophet. It says that. It makes it, he fulfilled prophecy. No prophet. Prophets could put hands on sick and heal. Anybody can just, they wouldn't need hospitals. No, thank you. That doesn't, a man could speak, right? The prophet in one dialect, gloss, tongue. There's no such thing in speaking in tongues, and any person in their like, it wouldn't be foreign, alien. There's no, alien is not a physical being. Alien is the word meaning that's for it. They were called illegal aliens, and then they called them migrants, and then they said you can't call them newcomers. We're going to pay for them for about 5 years, 10 years, and then we're all just going to kick them out when we brought them all in here. And we'll create a national emergency over something that we created. That's called Hegelian dialect. They do this to people over and over. There's a problem, reaction, solution. They're the hero to the problem that they created, because there'll be a public react to the problem that they created. And see, bam, does that feel like the jab? Like what they did there? And how many people got boosted? Remember, warp speed? You knew I was a snake before you let me in, and then he let the bite in. Oh, Joe Daddy. And then warp speed took us to blind 11. 4 + 5 is 9. When you skip Joe, you go to blind 11. 4 + 7 is 11. President 9, 11. That's how much of an ignorant society I live in. But from 100 years from now, because there'll be simple math, they think 2 + 2 = 5 with this common core, and 3 steel buildings with 2 airplanes adds up, and that don't math to me. So I just think these people, they're Mathican Americans. No, they're on the Adderall cabinet, the Methican cabinet. Too much. They called it Ritalin, but it's still this, psycho. They're in this Babylonian brainwave mentality mindset. So you can't turn a goat into a sheep. It was already chosen. No free will, no luck, no aliens, no big feet, no, what are all these things? No planets, no Father created no planets. All these people made up, all these are fairy tales, like fantasy, I think somebody said. Man, they banned my chat. This is bummer. You guys are getting a good lesson, though, here. Thank you, Father, for this message. Let's see if we got any top chat here. Oh, hey, we got something here. Oh, don't mourn, Buffalo. Remember, the albino buffalo's in the house. Dang, I can't get see my chats. Let's go back to all messages. All right, Creation of David. Why do you keep saying that, Creation Lab? I don't know who that is. Who is that? I asked you last time you came in here. Sensation creation, inflation creation machine. That's called the Federal Reserve. That's not federal. That's who Donald works for, Mr. Moneybags, Mr. DuckTales. Woo! Remember, Mr. McScrooge? All right, go eat your McNuggets there. Get out of here, chicken. That's your cock rooster god. Giannis, January. Giannis, grow up. God. So, all right. Good to see the buffaloes back. Are you a buffalo herder? Maybe it could be a silver buffalo. Hey, hold on. Wrong face, time, place. Maybe it's silver buffalo. The albino buffalo has entered the room. So, and Creation Lab's talking about something. I don't know what they're talking about. Keep talking about some, fake, Jew. All this is a front. That's the pretend. Remember, same thing. Working for the Eagles. Like, I want to fly like an eagle. I mean, the band, or like, not this one time in band camp with the flute, but like La Musica, like they got their Peter Pan god, so you never know. Sometimes their stick is the other. Remember, they hung them from a tree, and but anyways, people play their own, orchestrate their own, manifest their own I don't know. Remember, there's a tone. Everything has a frequency and a wave and a rhythm, like a cycle, and they think that a computer can learn, and now they've taught the world that, and so they can release these computers and blame it on the computers, right? The computers did it. That's a good way to eugenics. So actually, it's been a horrible day today. Not like that. I just whatever. It's not that bad. I just dropped everything I owned to half price to try to come up with these final. And I got to take care of this criminal case, and then I can move on to the civil case. So One day at a time. Who shall ever come after me? Let them deny themselves daily. Take up your cross daily and follow after me daily. So, I only get up on one side of the bed, so because there's a wall on the other side. So, but anyways, some we have better days than others, and today is just I don't like dropping all my stuff to half price, but I don't care. It's just stuff I really don't want to. It's all part of the ministry anyway. So I was hoping to hold on to the precious metals, but I don't know. We'll see. Maybe the land will sell. I don't know. I had some guy offer me a Tesla wall and some money, but I can't afford. I can't do a Tesla wall right now. It was a little further along in the game here. This whatever race, I might be able to do the Tesla wall because that would be awesome out here. We could use it for the ministry. What a blessing would it be for the ministry to own a Tesla wall, man? But oh, whatever. Life ain't Burger King. You can't always have it your way. So, anyways, that's how life is. It's a daily. It should be a struggle, or you're probably not doing it right. If it's easy, you're falling under your own. You know. So we'll see. I put everything up for sale. Like I said, I'd rather hold on to the gold than any of the other possessions, the other piece of land, the my motorcycle I got up for half price, the flatbed I put up for half price. I actually need to keep checking on that. Let me see if somebody messaged me. Okay. I don't know if I'm going to answer that right away. That's a blanket message on the marketplace. Is this available thing? So I have everything on the marketplace. I put the land up for $20,000 under what I listed it for originally, and somebody just offered me a Tesla wall. No, somebody offered me silver today too for the land, but they hadn't got back to me. So silver, I might have to trade it in. I need cash either way. Like I said, I have to trade in the gold for cash either way. The attorney, I showed it to him, and he'd looked at it. And he's like, let me see that. Obviously, he don't deal with it very often, but he knows that I mean business. So I don't care. It's just, like I said, remember, like 14, 15 months ago, I just had 40 pounds of gold, or not gold, 40 pounds of silver and all my gold taken from me. So my son and my daughter, and, I've gone through, lost quite a bit. So it doesn't matter. I don't want to own anything. So or I just want to go on the road. So it kind of bums me out this morning, really honestly, because this money was the ministry money, and I have to kind of close out this whole Ecuador idea now. And I don't want to close that chapter out. I really wanted to leave the United States. I don't want to be here anymore for now. Doesn't mean I can't come back here. That's why I paid ministry off, so it can't be taken. It's here. It's paid for. It's not going anywhere. Land doesn't grow legs. There's 20 acres that can continue to serve whether I'm here or not. So that's what kind of bummed me out, because I wasn't ready to close out this Ecuador thing. So if the money's there, I won't have precious metals anymore, and that's fine. It's just I didn't own any. Remember, just had it all taken from me 15 months ago. More silver and almost as much gold as I had now. But anyways, it's the Ecuador thing, because I want to grow food for the ministry. I'm a farmer. That's what I do. I want to revert back to the old organic ways. I only want to do old organic things. I'm tired eating crappy corn syrup and everything, and boxed and bagged and canned. And I can do that in a climate that would be conducive. So it might end up being prison food. Who knows? With father, I might eat. No, nothing's happening. Remember, I said in jail, or said it to the. I heard Tracy said in jail. Well, when I got out before last time, they arrested me. I keep saying that my son is with Marshall, called the cops, Josephine County, and now I had last time in court telling Josephine County judge, beyond my understanding, that he drove 4 hours away. That means he must have got up at 3 or 4 in the morning to come rule on my case. And I tell this judge that my son has been killed or murdered, and my daughter, and here's, I didn't even mention rape or kidnapping. I went straight, because I don't think he's here anymore. Why would he not have any none of it makes sense. So why would they be covering? There's just too much foul play in this case. There's something's dirty, dirty, dirty. The state troopers can't keep their story straight. The sheriffs won't go look for my son, who's I've reported murdered, dead, kidnapped, my daughter raped potentially, and they don't go and the 40 pounds. I don't understand why father's doing this, but it's going to have to take a payment this time. I probably should have already taken the money, and I feel bad if my son had to struggle, but I feel like this is was the right thing to do to pay off the ministry. So I'm over it. I'm just a little bummed about the whole Ecuador thing, because I'll have to kind of put that on hold, and whatever. I'll work hard. I'll go figure it out. But I really wanted to do that. That's what I was about ready to purchase it. But so I'm glad that I didn't. I'm glad that I didn't take all the gold and silver and bail out of the country, because nobody be looking for my son right now. You know, maybe he would have went to prison, and had to sit in there 7 years for no reason. And after even all the proof, he'd already done all his probation twice. What a crock of crap, man. So if I end up in prison for some reason, my charges are going to be against cops and standing against cops, not the public. I'm not a tyrant to the, you know, and I'm not. They retaliatory charged on me. They filed these things. We'll see. I'm gonna go again. I have a meeting. Again, I need to spend a considerable amount of time with counsel now, but I have until the end of the week to come up with this retainer, and it's not cheap, and it's just to talk to him basically, and so it's going to be a considerable amount of more. So I better get ready to put everything else I own here as well, except for the ministry itself on the chopping block. So kind of the whole Ecuador idea is, I mean, I can't even get my passport. The cops won't even go get my passport. That's a felony. So hopefully someday, like I said, and hopefully be too much longer. I'll be the other side and know if Elijah's dead or alive. And I don't care if he's upset at me, and I don't think he is, because my son and daughter were moving here. They were bringing things here to the property. We were, obtaining building material for the to build his home, and so I don't see why he just flipped the script. So it doesn't lead me to believe. It's not a very good sign when the Josephine County Judge White reported him murdered, missing, who I don't believe is giving me the straight story, and not going and getting him when they have an arrest warrant for him. So that's why I believe that Josephine County didn't go get him, because he wasn't. Something's already happened to him, and it will come out one day. It will come out what has ever happened to my daughter and my son, and I can't. I've tried everything I can do. I've obtained 6 felonies and a misdemeanor. I'm facing 7 charges right now. 7 judgments are being placed on me. More time in jail than my son was ever even facing, for something that he was tried double jeopardy for. He'd already been double jeopardy made to do his probation twice. If they were trying to throw your son in prison and you knew he had done his probation and he hadn't gotten in trouble in years, like 42 weeks is when they finally tried to violate him, which was totally illegal. It's like, going on in his 4th year. No trouble, doing everything he's supposed to do, and then they still try to throw him in prison. I hope that they didn't kill him because they're mad at me, and I hope it doesn't involve Marshall Radanich off Mount Creek in Wolf Creek, Oregon. But don't even go there, because he ain't there anymore. Already went there myself. I told the cops where I thought my dead son was being kidnapped in his location, and they didn't go do anything to find him or my daughter. Nor did they go get the passport or the 40 pounds of silver. That's evidence. I don't care what anybody says, and I'm going to fight to the death, as I said, and keep my word to keep my son from going to prison. And so he's not in prison right now. That they haven't. He still has an active open warrant, so he's still looking over his shoulder. Is he with his wife? Is he dead? Is my son dead? Is my daughter dead? Nobody cares. Nobody gives a rat's ass. I do. So I'm going to keep my word. I do that. I have a lot of ideas, and when it comes to like building things and dreams, but when I keep my say I'm going to do something and I'm going to finish it, I'm going to finish it. So you have to endure to the end, and I'll finish this. I will fight to the death to stay alive, to keep my body here as long as I possibly can, to make sure I can locate my son and maybe just be the last man standing, here on this rock. I don't know. Another day doesn't seem like it's another, it's fun, but it is what it is. You have to endure to the end to be saved. That is part of what being saved, salvation is about. So whatever they do, they're going to do, like I said to them in open court. Yeah, no, that's what they came in. See, that's what's so crazy, Carpenter. Now, say what I'm saying. Why would they not show that? Look at this. Why would YouTube moderate that channel? Was he there? Was he there when they flash banged you in the face? They called that it flash bang of the face. Yeah. Thanks YouTube for moderating that. Yeah, they came here to get him, but now they have a 7-year the same thing and more charges on him because he's fled. And they know where he's at. They told me, oh, we seen him on camera in February. He's been seen 2 times in the county. I said where I think he's been kidnapped at. So I don't believe that to be true, because why didn't they go get him? Why didn't they go get my silver? Why didn't they go get my passport? Why didn't they go investigate Marshall Radonich for stealing? That's grand theft. That's potential murder. That's potential kidnapping. And they never even sent an officer, and they threatened to send me to jail because I'm violating a no contact order by them going there and having and finding a welfare check if my son is alive or dead, is using the system. And that's what they accused me of. And then when the council, who didn't do anything, called to get it, they wouldn't give it to him. They wouldn't give him the recording of them saying that to me, threatening me. So nobody ever went to look for Elijah. And so I went back months later and everything's gone there. And that was a big, big property with a lot of goings on there, not just some little sit down. And, I already told him, I've already brought everybody to Google Maps and said, look at it. I think he's taken up in this road behind there. And I think he's sitting up there. His body's up there in those caves somewhere. And so is my daughter. And nobody gives a rat's ass once again. So I'm trying to do the best I can. I hired the attorney that was Elijah's attorney, who's familiar with the case. And he's one of the most expensive attorneys in the state. So, would you give up everything you own? Well, I'm already giving up every right that I have for my son, and they're going to potentially throw me in jail if they had their way. They would be in my trials today. Isn't it the 16th? Today's the 16th, guys, correct? They would have thrown me into a trial today without even my son being there, So I don't know. I don't know what God has in store for me, man. It's been just an absolute struggle here this last couple days, weeks. Has just been a little bit of a coming down to this time where, I should have had answers already. Don't you think by 15 months that I would know where my son's at by now, whether he's dead or alive, or should he be looking? I originally did this to help him, and he's now looking over his shoulder or dead or kidnapped. It's even worse than ever when I had started this. And worse for me, I'm a loss. Yeah, I've already been flashed. They can't take that flashbang they threw to my face. So I will pursue civil lawsuit, and 100% I will keep my word that I will sue Lane County, and I will sue the state of Oregon and the federal government for not getting involved in this, because I've called the Department of Justice and called many offices to try to prevent any of this from ever happening, from the corruption. This all could have prevented if somebody would have came out. Even the news once and did a story out in this town might have picked this up and prevented the potential death and kidnapping of my son and my daughter, And so imagine what it's like the other day to be thrown in front of a judge telling me, no, you're going to go in front of a jury because you want a speedy trial, but we haven't given you any counsel, and we're not going to give you any counsel. And you know what? Nobody's even giving you any counsel in the last 3 months. Your attorney even forgot to call in last time and forgot to quit. He forgot to quit. He forgot to call in and quit, and he forgot to call in. That's failure of my right of, see, that's a civil rights violation. That's a right of adequate counsel and a right of due process. I have several civil, and now I'm again seeking this criminal lawsuit against the state of Oregon. For sure, the state of Oregon. They're criminally involved in the grenading of my daughter, and I want them held accountable for the grenade that they threw at my daughter. Her charges were released because they kidnapped her and took her without warrant, and they released her charges. That's where I think this case gets so deep that there's so many lawsuits that it might even be better just for them to eliminate my son and daughter. And I think if they have their way, they'll come out here and do it to me. It could be any day. I've already communicated that I don't feel like my body is in a good place here right now. I think that they want me dead, and I think I can prove that with evidence if anybody would actually look at this case. Do a story on it, open it up, and start interviewing some of these people. You'd just be astounded at the things that have happened, to not only myself, but my son being targeted in this case. This is a massive case of targeting, being targeted. I have the cops driving over and wrecking my property now for the second time. Not the first time they came over with the SWAT team, but this is, intimidation and menacing and harassing and stalking me. And then who do you call when the cops are stalking, menacing, harassing, destroying your property, causing destruction to private property? This is my property. They're destroying it and running it over out of spite, to be facetious and to be malicious in their intent. And will they ever be held accountable? Why have no police phones been tracked, documented to see if they're the ones who destroyed the property out there? Why does all my measurements, forensic, all this prints that were left out there, why do these all match the cops' vehicles? Crash bar, 67 inches, 3 foot, or what? I had all 6 foot on the outside, 57 on the inside. It's them who did it. Who do you call when the cops are, destroying your property, destruction of private property, to try to intimidate you, to get you to be quiet? You know what I'm saying? Everything's available. So I don't know how this is going to go, Carpenter. I really don't. I don't. Like I said, I don't. John's a hard ass, man. John is a freaking hammerhead shark and great white shark swimming around in his eyeballs. This guy is represented since 1982. Murders and many people. He has just, his record speaks for itself. But he's not cheap, and I can't get over what he said to me again about not being a dump truck. I'm not sitting there trying to overload on him. I need the evidence looked at. So the evidence is what it is. I really want to hold back about speaking about, I have nothing to hide in the case. But like I said, I don't think their warrant was valid to begin with. I have the right, of affirmative defense to protect myself under that Fourth Amendment for illegal prosecution. And it doesn't matter, like I said, in my eyes, if I can just get anybody to look at it, it was criminal to hit my daughter with a grenade. It was criminal to hit me in the face with a grenade. It was criminal and excessive force to shove 5 tear gas canisters into none of us were resisting. None of us were being combative. None of us were, I have the right to know why they were here. They need to execute the warrant properly, and they didn't. So they need accountable for that on the execute. This SWAT team possibly did this again to somebody else, and most people will stand down. What they did out here was not protocol. This is not how SOP, standard operating procedure. I have been a special weapons and tactics trained, and what they did out here was a massive, excessive force. From the minute they got here, they grenaded my son and daughter. Why would they throw a grenade in where my daughter was sleeping? My son and daughter are sleeping, and that's how they were wakened, and that's what woke me up. Remember in the live stream, I didn't know what had woken me, but that's what it was. And I didn't figure it out until I fell in the pen. And it's all dated. I brought the pin on, in this live stream. And when I saw that pin, that's what's breaking my heart, is knowing that my son and daughter, not only have they had to suffer, but now their bodies were grenaded. I want the police held accountable is all. I don't want vengeance. Don't you think that when a SWAT team comes in and if nobody's resisting, nobody's got it, you get woken up to a concussion grenade? That's excessive force. That's how I was, went to the door and got grenaded to the face. That's standard operating procedure. I have to be causing them a threat. I have to be causing them violence. I have to have something in my hands, fighting them. I was made they could hear me. Like I said, there was a guy standing right there. I didn't realize till I went back the second time, pointing a gun right in my face again. I had to stick my hand in the face where I'd already been blasted with a grenade to talk to my son, to tell him that he's coming out. And I thought they could shoot me at any time. They'd already hit. I put my face against the screen, and that's what that bam hit right against my face. That's probably, maybe that has something to do with the reason why, I didn't, lose my eardrum and lose my eye completely and but I still suffered a stroke. I was still bleeding out my face for months, and I still have pressure today in my face that I don't want to talk about, because when you talk about stuff, it makes it worse. Kind of like the placebo effects. I try to leave it alone, not think about it. It helps when you don't talk about it as much, so think about it as much. So, but anyways, um, it's just a massive excessive force. And so I'm sure that I have massive lawsuits, but I want to pursue a criminal lawsuit against the state of Oregon, against Lake County Sheriff's Office, specifically for their, unwillingness to ever even look into my son's double jeopardy probation, which is easily provable. So the nice thing about John Caligo, though, is he's not going to pussyfoot around. He'll tell me what's law, what I can, what's not, um, and it's not like even like I'm giving away because I want to be tight-lipped now. I'm on this case, but the validity of the warrant to begin with already I'm telling you, it's going to be in question. So if you don't have a valid warrant and then you don't serve it properly and you do it excessively, we're talking about hundreds of millions of dollars of lawsuits here. So like I said, maybe somebody will buy this land and I'll be able to keep the gold, and I'll just trade those 5 hectares, You know what I'm saying? And it won't be, well, it's 5 acres for those 2 hectares down there, but okay. But anyways, they're right around the same amount of land. And so I'm not using this land over here. So maybe somebody will buy the land, or maybe somebody will come in and make a blessing to the ministry. I don't know. All these fake ministries get millions of dollars tied to them every year, hundreds of millions of dollars to a bunch of fake ministries. So I don't want to take from anybody. Once again, I told everybody who's ever donated to this ministry, they can come out here, stay for their time donation. You don't have to donate to be a part of the ministry. Remember, I had a $47,000 land payment here with the total bill, and I paid on it for 10. So I knocked about, half of that off. But I come up with that myself. Told people I don't want a small donation because I don't want to hurt anybody. I don't want to take a single dime. If you can only give me $10, well, that's probably better that you spend the $10 on yourself, don't you think? And if people want to give, that's what tithing's about. They do it because they want to do it. And they don't do it to gain. They do it because they can. The Father's blessed them, and that's what I was hoping again, that maybe. But I only have a day now because tomorrow I have all day tied up with everything. It's just I don't have time to do anything. I probably couldn't even take an appointment if I sold something tomorrow. I'm so packed with things to do. This is kind of like the home stretch here. So final trump, if you will. And I need to make sure that I'm, I put it all on Father, 100%. Though I'm not, I'm telling you, I'm not trying to change anything. I don't think that I have the ability to. Father's going to do whatever he wants in my life at this point, and I think that should be abundantly clear for anybody who's followed this ministry. We'll see, following this relentless 15 months almost now of just trying to be, a dad trying to help his son. It still comes down to that, and I still would not feel bad no matter what happens to me. If they kill me, throw me in jail, whatever happens, I don't have any regrets. I'd do it 100 million lifetimes again. So it is what it is. So if you know anybody's maybe hit big on Bitcoin, I have a Bitcoin Cash App link. You can, if you want to help out, I have the precious metals to cover it. But I was really hoping those precious metals I could hold on to those for about another 6 months. And I think those would buy the Ecuador property, because the Ecuador property is $38,000. That's when I originally listed the price of the property here in Christmas Valley, and I was getting a lot of hits. Every time I lower the price, it just gets, I tell you, I had some people this morning leave some kind of crude comments like, who the hell would want to live way out there? Like, dude, this is one of the best properties in this whole valley for a homestead, and for a family, because it's right next to the school. It's the closest property to the school in the whole county. Some people drive 50 miles to get their kid to school, 25 here, out, maybe even more. And this one's just, you can see the school from the property. It's that close. So I don't know why Father has already beat me and didn't make it sell, but whatever. This is the only way I've sold anything so far, is selling at a half price, literally half the market. And I hate ruining the market like that, selling stuff under market value, because it gets put into the algorithm, if you will, if something's sold at that price. So even listed, I hate listing stuff under market value, especially half, because it ruins everybody else who's in the market. So, but that's what Father is doing to me now. So I'm trying to um, get to that point. And today I've just been, like I said, I've just been a little bit beside myself thinking, man, if I have to take all these precious metals and give it to this attorney, probably should have already done that with the land payment money here, but whatever it is, it's paid off. This land for the ministry now will always serve no matter what happens to me. And it can serve for generations to come. So it's about the service of the ministry, not so much of myself. And whatever Father wants to happen to me is going to happen. I can't change that. I know that. So I just tried for 15 months to keep my son from going to prison. Now he's on the run, potentially dead and murdered. And I'm going to prison potentially for more time than he even, more than almost triple the time he faced to begin with. So it is what it is. Life's not Burger King, right? Can't always have it your way. So I'll figure it out. Like I said, that's what's been kind of ailing me this morning. Just kind of been in a little bit of a, I got everything listed, got up early and got everything listed. I'm like, yeah, whatever. It's just half price. It doesn't matter, dude. Just get rid of it. You need to get through this criminal case, and then you'll be able to file the civil case, and everything be fine. It just, um, like I said, the Ecuador property, I really wanted to, it just keeps going up in value, and they are making improvements to the property. And what if it sells? I've been looking at it for all these years. I've been had my eye on it when it was 18,000 and when it was $20,000 less. See what I'm saying? The whole thing's just like a big loop to me. So it's okay. It doesn't matter. Like I said, just, you know, I really love to be in Ecuador eating bitter food. So I'm going to make a decision here, like I said, the next day or two after I speak with the attorney, and I'm just not going to plan to leave the country anymore for a while then, and I'll rock it here. And like I do, and I'll just put my head down and I'll forget about going down there right now. And I'll do my best to do what I can with what I have. You have to work with what you get. So I just can't grow papaya up here like I could there. I can't grow star fruit, and the food down there is just so much better. And the access to fresh vegetables and fruits and is abundant, and no corn syrups and none. I don't want none of that in my body anymore. And if you're around it, you become a product of your environment, so you're going to absorb it. So um, yeah, I'll get over it. Like I said, life's not Burger King. Once again, it just was kind of a rough day this morning. Like, man, I got to give up this whole Ecuador dream. I've had this for years and years and years. I can't even get the passport. I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to leave the country. How long that would be, what's going to happen. So I just a planner. I prepare for a lot of things ahead of time, and I'm a very multifaceted guy, and that's how I can accomplish so many things. Is I do several projects at one time. I take on way more than one person should, but I chip away, I chip away, I chip away, and you know, and a whole huge piece falls off. So, but it takes time to just keep whittling away. It's like making, it's that old lifestyle that I love, that daily grind, whether I farm, it doesn't matter what animal I farm. I love to farm, being the regiment of having animals dependent on you every day, and you have to provide that water and feed and keep them clean. And animal husbandry is a very rewarding. Uh, and then gardening, I miss growing gardens. I've grown some beautiful gardens. I've been a medicinal cannabis grower, and I haven't even had the time because I've been so busy doing here. I haven't done that in years, and that's a bummer because that's a very enjoying, crop to a nice small, but it'll all work out. There's nothing I can do here to change it. I know that. So, because Lord knows I have tried. And like I said, now I am a million times more backwards than when I even started. So, um, well, in some ways, I'm a lot better off too. The land, the ministry's paid off. That other land I was able to pay off so I can sell it to possibly, potentially try to buy this other property. So I have gone forward, but that doesn't matter. I don't care about Lanecountychoppers, whether my son is looking over his shoulder and he's alive, and my daughter as well. What's going on with them? And so maybe I can find something else out tomorrow too, because I have a big day planned for tomorrow. And today's the 16th. I think today was the day they were going to bring me to trial, guys. I cannot believe this county was just going to try to take me to trial without doing any kind of looking into anything again. They were just going to try to railroad me, guys. You know, like I said, at my pre-trial, they didn't even try to make a plea agreement, in which I won't. I won't take a plea. I won't take a plea. So I got to make sure too with this attorney, like I said, that he's pretty much, and I know because it's an 8-hour drive for the attorney to drive, you know, to court. So it's expensive. He's not cheap, and yep. He'll tell me what legally can be done though. So legally, lawfully, whatever, you know. What I'm going to try to do right now is not feed the system as well. Try not to give the system any of my tax dollars by going and getting myself thrown in a jail cell and then feeding them my bond number. So I don't want to do that. I already subrogated all that and did what I did in open court. So we'll see. Maybe Father can pull off another miracle like he has done so many times in my life, not by like that, like it just things that are just unfathomable. And I know he has 100% the ability to do anything. There's nothing Father cannot do. With him, all things are possible. Through Christ, all things are possible. So I don't know. I didn't get any language on my end. So they must have, I didn't see, no, there was any language. Man, they're mashing this chat, man. So, but oh well, whatever it is. But anyways, I don't want to bring a negative vibe onto you guys. I just wanted to come in here and kind of, you know, do a little update here. And, you know, like I said, it seems like the channel is getting shadow banned again pretty good. They're squashing the numbers back down, which is okay. But I know there's some people who've been busy too right now. And what an interesting time to be down to the wire. Like I said, I cannot believe all the goings on around me in this world right now. This whole flip the script, what Trump just did is dangerous. To sit there and turn his back on his whole following and saying, hey, if you don't believe that I'm not a pedo, you know what I'm saying? And just totally turn and flip the script when they said they had all these files, and then say, hey, you're what did he call them? He gaslighted all his base, guys. I cannot believe what just happened. You know, there's so many things that are going on in this world right now that are just unfathomable. And that's incredible. He just gaslighted his whole MAGA base and said, if you don't follow me, this is just a Dem thing, and did the whole pick sides again with them. See, it's the Dems that did it. They did it. They're making this up when this has been long before the Dems. You know what I'm saying? This isn't a Democrat Republican issue. This is a pedo issue. They go on both sides of the coin. Two wings to the same dragon, two cheeks to the same hole, and we know that. So he just did this in front of the whole world. This shows the credibility of this government is not credible at all. Anybody who trusts any of these governments and anybody who supports them is part of the problem now. And that's why I don't support any of these law, tyrants, these people, these government, all these people, these pigs, people in government, anybody who works for and supports these lickers, these jack boot thug lickers, these pig lickers, these people support these pigs, swine. Remember he said, don't cast your pearls before swine. Swine is a pig. And they tax and war and fee and fine and do just nothing. He came in as the peace president and he's done nothing but war. He's sent more drones. Now they're actually tempting over there and over there in Ukraine, and they're putting manned aircraft over there, not unmanned, but putting up men they're going to send how many batteries of those Patriot things? Those things take like 100 U.S. soldiers to operate, and they're going to say we're not over there. Bullshit. These Ukrainians don't know how to operate this equipment. No way in hell. See, people don't pay attention to what's going on. We have reached a very critical time, not the end of the world. Trump just gave Putin a 60-day notice like 10 or 11 days ago. So on September 1st, he has to be done what he's doing over there. Whatever he's going to done, and that's the same 60-day warning that he gave Iran, and they went over there B2, not B52, B2, the day before on day 59. So people should be watch what he's saying. There are things that Trump says that he's not going to do, and there's things that he does that he says he's going to do. You know what I mean? It's quite. What the hell is this? Somebody's speaking in psychobabble. Let's get him out of here. So these things are really important, guys. And I know, like I said, it's difficult for me to be in this position right now, knowing my son is somewhere and he should be here with me right now. This is a time that is How did I just get a voicemail? You guys, I've never had to do that before. That was weird. It went to the voice message all on its own. Out of nowhere. I can't stand that. You get a call from your phone never rings, but you can voicemail. How do they do that too? How do these people now? They call from one number, get a voicemail from somebody else, from somebody else's number. We've got the greatest military intelligence in the whole world, and they're still trying to reach me about my car's extended warranty. This country's an abomination. So, how is it that the seated, selected commander-in-chief, of all the militaries can sit there and just lie to the public to their face and then gaslight his own, MAGA base? So what a crazy time to be a witness to this. When you think it can get any crazier, it truly does. And I know where they're headed to this. I hope you guys are ready for robots, the robot takeover. Here it comes. Warehouse is full of robots. Aliens and robots, Chewbacca, Anakin Skywalker. Here we go. It's going to get crazy real quick. I'm sure of it. Doesn't mean it's going to be the end of the world either. That's what's hilarious, is everybody wants to make everything the end of the world. We're a long ways off from what people would know as the end of the world. So, but you should be ready every day, like he could come back at any moment, so to speak, because you could pass. And that final trump is the great and dreadful day of the Lord. So that is judgments when all will rise from the ashes and the dust. It don't matter if you got crushed or burnt or the worms ate you. I don't care what your death was. Only one final trump. So nobody's dead and gone to the sky. People sit and lay in their, in the dirt where they came from. And when Father, has every jot through his writing and tittle has come to pass, and that final trump, all things will come to pass before that great and dreadful day of the Lord. That is the final trump. That's why they are playing this the way that they're doing this in front of everybody, and people are they're just not in the word. They fall for the world version of it, the mammon, fleshy traditions that they're bringing on to the masses, and they love it. Like I said, look what they love. This MAGA base just got gaslighted, and I bet you there's still people that think he's the greatest thing ever. And say, well, no. See, even I've been reading through comments and stuff and do research, and there's still people who will just refuse that he's a part of it at all. I mean, the only thing, like I said, if anybody even just looked from an outside, trying to do any kind of investigation, the only reason you'd hide something like that, like he did, if he was innocent, he'd be releasing it already, right? Kind of like these JFK files, kind of like the files that he was going to release about all these, drones that were in, nothing. It's a say one thing and do something else. So it isn't surprising that he would sit there again and gaslight his own, MAGA base. But there I see a lot of people turning away. I mean, and saying this isn't the guy that I voted for. He came in with one thing. I said, well, they do this every time. I mean, I don't mean to like beat you up, but you fell for it. And now you rode the train to the station. Hey, you're getting off. This might be a good time to get off. So I see people burning these MAGA hats and make America great again and keep America great and all this. Great is we're an apostate nation and we have a crumbling infrastructure. And I, as a veteran, see how they treat me as a United States, an honorably discharged veteran that's supposed to speak up when things are not good. If we have an enemy, foreign or domestic, on the homeland, we need to speak up. And if it's our government, what am I supposed to shut up about that? When you take an oath to the Constitution, end a tour of service doesn't end with a tour date. It ends when you die. If you're a true soldier, you're like, if you're a country boy, you can't take that out of out of a man. You could take a boy out of the country, but you can't take a country out of the boy. You can take, once somebody's a soldier, been a soldier, they're a soldier for life, they're militant. And so I can't trade or change who I am. It's Father made me by the choices he made me make through life, and knew which decisions, as I had options, were going to make to form and shape this man that I am today. And it says, do not quit your post until properly relieved, is the first general order of a United States Army veteran. And so I'm going to keep that oath. Like I kept an oath to my wife. She committed adultery on me, got pregnant with some other man's kid when I went off to the military, and I still kept that oath. The child was not mine. I birthed that child in a military hospital. That's the only way you can leave your wife if she commits adultery, the physical act. Right? No, he said if you covet another man's wife, that is adultery. But in this case, and I still kept my oath to, when you take, those vows, it's, that it's, you're supposed to be bound by fathers. So when I say I'm going to do something, when I commit to something, I do that. And hey, so I took an oath to the Constitution, and I took an oath to that. And it's a God-given, whether you have a belief in a father, higher power, who birthed a son or not. I don't care. That's irregardless. It's protected right. It's organic. It's natural. These are laws of the land that have been here long before this Constitution ever existed. But the federal government is there to protect those inalienable, natural, color of law, Black's law, organic constitutional rights. They're supposed to be protected. And somebody like me took an oath to it. I don't care what they do to this flesh. I already was supposed to die. Don't you understand? I shouldn't be standing here today. So Father, keep some of us erect, stepping, marching left, right, one day at a time. Seems like one day is just one step. Sometimes you go 50 steps backwards, but just to make one step forward, that's what a soldier does. What did Haystack say? He said, if I die here on the battlefield, I hope that Father will bless, that Jesus will bless me and reincarnate me as a soldier so I could live to fight again. So choose your battles wisely, because it's not a flesh battle that we're under. I've made those mistakes. People, we've all done that. We still do it. It's this flesh that's weak. It's this flesh that he tells us to cut off and circumcise it. You understand? So if you're a soldier, who's controlling the body? Is the mind? What's stronger? Is the mind stronger? Is the body stronger, soldier? Pain is just weakness trying to leave your body. Move out and draw fire. As you were, carry on. So I get a little militant. You'll have to apologize. But when I take an oath to something, I want to finish that oath. You have to endure to the end to be saved. He's my savior. Ain't anybody here going to do anything to save me or my son, and I know that. But as his dad, you got to look after like your crew, whatever. Your brotherhood doesn't mean blood. No, it doesn't. Your family's not blood. I rebuke my family. They're a bunch of Satanist pagans who love money and wheel worship. And all they charity, it's not by, it's not silent. You know what I'm saying? No, I didn't go to court. They backed out of court, and I'm trying to come up with the money now to pay for an attorney after 15 months. I can't. They're going to throw me in. They were going to, today was a court day. They were going to throw me in prison, guys. So I have to buck up and take the Ecuador money and squash that dream of getting out of the country and growing all the food, and it can happen later, and put it towards the attorney. So I'm trying to sell everything I own here at half price. I just had to reduce this land to $19,988. I originally listed. I just had somebody offer me a Tesla wall. and 2 generators. I mean, that's a considerable amount, and $500 payments for the remaining. I've had people offer me things again that I couldn't use in the past, and now I've got it at half price, and a bunch of smiley faces, people laughing or whatever. And I don't normally, it doesn't bother me, but it just like wasn't getting any of that when it was, double the price. And now Father just is beating me. So it's just he's laughing at me because I don't want to sell things at half price. I think it ruins the market. I've been in the market for a long time, making my way on the internet. This web, has a way to get people caught, and I've used it and flipped it on its head. But you don't want to sell something below market value. It pings that algorithm, and it's not good for the market. If something has value, that's what you keep the value at, near or right around there. I mean, dropping it down a little bit because you're in a situation is one thing, but half of market value is it's only really been able to sell anything. That's how I obtained most every bit of that gold that I had showed you yesterday on the live stream, was by bartering and doing it from the ground up or taking half price for something. And just, so hoping that I would make up on the gold, and that's why I really like to hold the gold, because if I could actually just put the $15,000 in his hands, which I can trade in the gold and silver I have, that gold and silver 6 months from now, I do think will pay for that property. I think it will double in price before the end of the year. So, and silver is just set to, moonshot, because it's just undervalued. It just is what it is. But I don't care. See, like I said, all these things don't even matter. All that matters is that I find my son. I just got threatened again to be thrown in jail, calling nutty and speaking gibberish because I said my son is dead. And my daughter, they don't want to talk about it. Nobody wants to talk about my potential dead, kidnapped, or son, dead and daughter, son and daughter. It doesn't matter if I say it in open court. It doesn't even matter if I report his death to the police. They still don't do anything. They still just want to throw me in prison, shut me up, so nothing, they can get away with all of it. And I know there's foul play. There's something dirty here. Their stories don't match. Their timeline's off. They won't go look for him where they have a warrant for his arrest and go put him in prison for 7 years, because I think he's already gone. I hate saying that. But it's not looking good when they send a judge from Josephine County all the way over here to rule on this, whether the judge is going to, allow the attorney that's in record to stand down in the case. And he told me he couldn't, twice. And I said, you're not going to take this to trial. You haven't even summoned any witnesses. You haven't summoned the jury. In 6 days today, they would have had me in court without even summoning any witnesses. I said that would be a mistrial. And so he asked the district attorney, he said, nope, you're going to trial. You want a speedy trial? You're going to trial. And I didn't know I was speaking to a Josephine County judge where I reported my son murdered in that county to the police with motive and the potential murder. Marshall Radanich, kidnapper. And if not, why isn't this guy come forward? Why is this guy doing me dirty like he's done me and stolen everything from me, which I do think is my son and my daughter, as well as my silver and my passport? I remember my son told me to take those things and leave, get out of here. Go do me. Stop trying to help him. He'll get it figured out. Can't just stand down being a dad. Not going to stand down being a soldier. Remember, I don't only do this for my son, I do it for the Constitution, and be constitutionally incorrect not to stand up for this man. He's being tried twice, double jeopardy. Not double tried, but he's been made to do his labor, slave labor, to probation. I bet you there's millions of people this has happened to, and they don't get anywhere. Remember all the hundreds of hours of live streaming, Neanderthal probation, that's all analog, not digital. They won't give him record of anything. That means they can move the goalpost, and I have proof of these things and all that. That even my son even had more time left on his supposed extension, not for violation, but extension to still do 3 months before they ever could have thrown him in prison for violation. I have all record of this. So no matter how it works, and it works in this case, I'll never feel bad for trying to help my son out. If it backfired in my face, I hope I didn't tell Marshall Radanich, Marshall, one day I'm going to speak to Adriana, my daughter, and I'm going to find out, you said you had this silver the whole time. Now you're saying she has it. This don't add up. I'm going to get my dog and I'm going to go. And I didn't make a big stink about it, but I think maybe that's what gave him the motive to lure my daughter down there, because he'd already taken the silver and spent it, and that knew that he had not, and it's not Adriana that had it, because that's not what the evidence points to. That's not what he said from the beginning. He said he had it. And he said he went in there and they took it in there, and then he said, no, I didn't take it in there. She took it. And he changed his story. So none of it adds up. I really don't like the fact that when I had a chance to sit down to his face, he said, your son argued with me the whole way back home, which is motive. I think he was trying to cover his ass. This is after I already think Elijah's already been taken and disappeared by Marshall. And again, remember, this has been reported to Josephine County Sheriff's Office. I reported a murder to my son. I reported a murder before, two brothers and sisters, and that lady wasn't murdered, but she didn't come get any of her stuff back in this county, which was all stolen from her by her sister. And somebody this sister stole something from me too. I uncovered some things and then some dirt. This is where I first came into the corruption in this town firsthand by Sergeant Rorick. And this guy's retired now. So if anything ever, like I said, the feds could have came out here, a lot of this could have been prevented. My son and daughter could be alive right now because they would have come out and invested Sergeant Rourke and the dead police officer out here. That's a for sure dead police officer. And I think this guy was going after Sergeant Rourke for him and his son doing their dealings with the farmers out here in this town, because the farmers pay the cops off. But shh, we don't talk about that. Cops are all good. Farmers are all good. Somebody wears, Donald Trump, look just what happened to him right now with this whole refusing something that was sitting on Pam's desk that's been done for now more than, a decade. This goes back to the Pizza Gate, speaking of the gate, and he can be pushed off a 500-story bank and still land in a suit. People will not accept things at all, and that's kind of like this case. They haven't accepted anything. And so the facts and the evidence speaks for itself. And I'm not trying to, that's why I never tried to hide my son and said, hey, no, Marshall, you're not going to take and hide my son and daughter. So I have plenty of motive. So I have no idea why Father's doing what he's doing to Elijah, what he's doing to Adriana, or what he's doing to me right now. But what do I do? Some of you guys, and I don't mean to go that, you guys get such easy lives. But you know what? We all have a different measure. I'm not a rich man. I struggle with that. If I had $47,000 at my son's 17th month, halfway through, he had already contacted Ryan Solberg and wanted to petition the courts. That's why I told John, the attorney, when I talked to him, I already talked to you at month 17, John. I called you to make sure that Elijah, what his restitution was. If I had the money, none of this would be happening. My son would be alive because of stinking money, because I'm a dad that doesn't do all this big frivolous thing and just bought some more land to try to buy more land for the ministry. Once again, like I just did, instead of helping myself out and taking the 20, whatever, some $7,000, whatever, the final payment I needed to pay this land off and get myself counsel, I paid the ministry off. That's my biggest problem in life. I joined the military at 17 years old because I wanted to serve other people. And I wanted to, if I had to lose my life in the process, and if I had to struggle, that was part of what being a soldier was all about. So this is what I asked for, right? This is what Father made me. This is what he shaped me to be. So I don't have any idea where my son is at. Again, I report him. Isn't that crazy? Even to this day, that it not some agency, because the feds have been in here. I'm sure they've been in here, hasn't stepped in and say, we need to do something with this case with this guy. We have set ourselves up for some of the biggest lawsuits ever. I don't know if a judge has ever said to a person that you have to represent yourself without actually looking into the case. This would be something if I'd been fighting with my attorneys because they were doing something. But this guy tried to say I'm a nutcase and I'm not getting along and it's me that's the problem, and really just, it's kind of like these standard things that these attorneys say that, oh, well, the attorney-client privilege, it was attorney-client privilege breakdown. You have to fucking do so. I apologize. You have to provide me counsel. I actually have to do something. You have to investigate. None of these guys did anything for me. So will this paid attorney do anything for me? Hopefully. Will I just throw out the rest of this Ecuador money at him and it just end up not working out? Who am I to say? I'm not going to make any plans, I'll tell you that, because I know Crowd would absolutely crush him right now. So uh, at this point, the only thing that's going to settle my heart a little bit, is that just that I know that my son and daughter are okay. If they're alive, they don't want to talk to me. They took a deal. I don't know versus I don't know how to overcome this. Like I said, it's got to be Father's will. Oh my goodness. So, I think I'm gonna take a break here, and I appreciate everybody support. Please be ready for that final trump. That's the great and dreadful day of the Lord. That's what we should be preparing our lives for, no matter what. Don't love anything in this world more than that, please. That's what we're here to do. The wedding feast of the lambs. So um, that's what I love more than anything. And I know that Father will have a resolve. He will, if I endure to the end, he will heal all my pain, and he will right anybody who wronged me. He will pour out a just measure on them after this life. I don't seek vengeance on anybody who did anything, but I will be seeking lawsuit. I have to finish that now. I have to do it. So maybe that's why he's crushing this whole Ecuador dream right now of mine, so to speak, because I need to stay here in the United States to sue this corporation, to sue the federal government, to sue the state of Oregon, and to place suit on Lake County, Oregon, and specifically place suit on Ted Martin and Michael Taylor and Sergeant Rourke, because they're not operating anymore in their capacity. They need to be held accountable for their criminal actions and my civil rights violations. So I'm going to continue to do that. It wouldn't be right to let them get away with it. So I need to do that, and that's just part of the process. So it's going to take a tremendous amount of time, and maybe that's again why Father is not going to allow me to get out of this country and just leave and walk away from this, because I have to stay here to follow the lawsuits. And um, again, Father's the only thing protecting me right now. I've already, again, for my well-being and my animals' well-being and Kevin's well-being, have asked for some kind of protection from the law, who has already assaulted me and battered me and attempted to murder me. I think that's the attempted murder charge this officer could face by hitting me with a handheld grenade, concussion flash, and throwing a grenade that is not meant to be thrown directly at somebody's body, but into a room to, like, fill the room with smoke, or but not a directed right at. So that was excessive force, but unbeknown to me, they'd already hit my daughter with a grenade. So I want these people to be held accountable for the job that they're supposed to be doing. I've worked in this capacity in law enforcement. Again, I have special weapons and tactics training. I have reconstruction training. I have a lot of the training um, that they don't even have available today. They don't really even offer. I don't see a lot of people in law enforcement how to identify mental illness, and how to treat and handle people with mental illnesses, because people don't take their medicine properly. Now they just get shot dead because they're not listening to what a cop says. It's not like they might have some kind of disability, but that doesn't count when a cop doesn't give a shit. When you don't follow his respect my authority, they'll shoot you dead. And that's not what a law enforcement officer was ever. He was supposed to be like a firefighter that run into that burning building to save your life and give his life. Remember, I'm a veteran. So these cops are tyrants. There's no good cops in this country, and they proved that during the COVID. And they proved that day in and day out by continuing to allow this to be a corporation and not returning it to a constitutional republic, and not returning our money to gold and silver. Minted, not printed, not backed by, minted by the Treasury, not clipping the copper. I'm tired of watching this apostasy and feeling like there's very few. But that's how he said it. Many are called, but few oligos are chosen. Like oligos find the straight gate, Father only loves oligos. That means a puny number, a fraction. He doesn't love everybody. He's an all-loving Father, but he doesn't love everybody. He only loves his bride. And under the Old Testament, one sin was death. So I hope you're prepared for the final trump. We are in that book of Revelation. We've seen the rider in the White House. I mean, on the White House horse. On the right, in the White House horse. Apologize. There's 2 white horses. You better get which one right. There's one who comes with a crown and a bow, and one comes with the one that divides, a sword of division. I was just toying with you. I know these writers of Revelation. I am Revelation. So I hope this is revealing to you. This truth should be plain as the nose on your face. So focus, guys. It's right there in front of you to see. Cool. I hear you. I get to that point with somebody because I grew up, Rick, and born in the desert. So been in Hawaii. You know what I'm saying? But it's a spiritual channel. So I want people to understand for the lesson, Rick, that your brothers are your sister, and that is your mother, and that's your instruction. So you mother somebody with the word to tell them that your brother is not by blood. That's not who you're going to be with after you die. That is your family. So if you've been part of a brotherhood, you'd know that it has nothing to do with blood. Although they might do their little silly ritual with that, but it's not, brotherhood is somebody who gets up in the middle of the night, asks no questions, and is at your door without question. That's a brother. Doesn't care. He tells the wife, hey, I gotta go. That's brotherhood. Somebody's got your 6 no matter what. So that's somebody's going to actually be with you on the other end of this is who your brother is. Your brother is your mother. Like my son is my brother, mother's son, because he instructs me with the word. He's incredible. He loves the word too. And he's the one who helped me refine the ministry in ways and shaped it too as well, because he loves the word so much. It's what kept him alive. Dad, I'm not going to prison. I'm not going to prison. Remember what we talked about, son, the thief on the cross. Okay, Dad, I love you. Going out. It's coming out. He has his hands in the air because he loved the word more than he loved his body. And we had a long talk about being that thief on the cross, because Father makes the decision for all of us if we're doing his will. So those are your brothers and sisters. Only those that do the will of the Father are your brother. It says in Scripture, Rick, it says your brothers and your sisters and your mother are those that do the will of Father. So if you're not doing the will of the Father, then that's not your brother. And that's who he loves. Only people that do his will. But he makes them do it. If I didn't call out to their hearts to seek after me, seeking you shall find, asking you shall receive, knock, and I will come sup with you, the wedding feast of the lambs. He will feast with us. He will pour the measure, if we don't, not that we have to starve ourselves in this life, but we need to starve ourselves from the world. We need to fast from this world and do not partake in it. Don't put it in our body. It might taste sweet to our mouth, but it's going to be bitter to our belly. I guarantee you that. That's what the word says. It's what it should be, but we don't. People can't discern. They don't have that anymore. So that's why I totally grew up with that dialectus and called everybody bra, our brother, because I grew up in Los Angeles in the valley. Valley girls, for sure, bra. Like Shaka bra. Okay, Rick? So, hey, it's a lesson. That's what this ministry is about, bouncing off so we can learn. Dialect's really important. Your tongue, your glossa in this world that you speak, into this time, place, and space, if you will. You can really help another person out. That's a good way to bring somebody to the word, man. Most people don't realize, they think their families, their nieces and their uncles and their dad and their mom. That's when it says in the Old Testament, honor thy father. That's not talking about your dad. So if your dad's a Jezebel or does unrighteous things, do not partake in his unfruitful works of dark. Rebuke him with the light if he doesn't want it. But do not partake in unfruitful works of darkness. Apart from that. Just like he'll say, depart from me, you worker of iniquity. I never knew you. We've all done. That's why he doesn't stand for this. We need to speak up. That's why I speak up about things that people are uncomfortable. I speak about the things people don't want to speak of. People want to think that they're going to be with their family in the sky when they die. And that's not where heaven's is at. And nobody's going to the sky. And He said, meet him in the sky. So they couldn't even understand the difference between sea and sky. And there's words that are put in this book for a reason. And only his bride, remember in parables he spoke, would understand. Seeking you shall find, asking you shall receive, knock. If I didn't call out to their hearts to seek after me, he reveals what's our heart is filled with wickedness continuously. So we need to be righteous and upright, and don't get slacky with the word. He said, don't add a jot. You know what I'm saying? Right. So that's why I do it, because it helps. This is just one way to bring somebody to the word, right? Here's a whole lesson off of bro. So don't call me brother, right? I don't know when maybe, and then, but you get to say brothers and sisters. You're being a hypocrite. No, I'm only speaking to my brothers and sisters. Whoever else is in here, it's falling on deaf ears. I don't worry about that. Father's that retard, or restrainer, if you will. He retards their bis, understanding, knowledge. He puts a restrainer on that. So it doesn't matter. Like you could sit there like an avatar or some smurf or whatever, and till you're blue in the face, and you're not going to be able to talk to the wall. You understand what I'm saying? I wish I can. I couldn't wait. I can't wait, Jen. That's why I'm hoping that someday that I can get over this hump that I'm in, and Father will unchain me, because I love the word so much. Wouldn't need to curse or anything, and I never did for thousands of hours until 2 weeks of getting menaced by the police. Did I fall into this potty mouth that I have? But I'm hoping people could discern through that the gospel doesn't need, and that's why I was always it doesn't need. But I'm not talking just about the gospel when I'm talking about cops that restrict people and take and negate and cancel and I have to speak up about that. So I apologize for the cursing, because if I can get over this hump, I can tell you it would just stop. And I'd say, well, then how come you can't stop it now, Tracy? I got a possible dead son and daughter, and I'm getting close, and I apologize, but it is what it is, yeah. See, outside, Jen, I would have a little bit of but not much, because look, like in the word, here's how I say this, Jen. If you do it outside and you're not talking about the word, God damn it, is not taking the Lord's name in vain. Lord's a pagan term, by the way. It's not following his word. That doesn't. Lord is a pagan term. It means master. You can't serve two masters. People are getting a little caught up. So we're filthy rags, Jen. We're gonna make mistakes. But I know that I was getting better, because I thought I could cuss because I was a veteran. Well, some of the people have a higher IQ, not like I'm better than you. They curse a little bit in their, and it's more like a punctuation, um, than mark than an act, because it shows a sign of intelligence. No, it doesn't. You can make a million excuses on why and a word is not the end. Father's not going to throw you to the abyss because you cursed in your life. I think that's, excessive is gluttony, right? Correct. So if you threw one here or there, I don't think it's the end of the world. It's not what defiles a man that goes in us, is what comes out of us. So I hold that myself accountable to that, if you will. So, but people don't even know what pluck you means. Remember, the yew bow was a yew tree, and they would pluck your bird finger. This is your bird because of the feather, the bird. And so fuck you doesn't mean what people think. Just like Lord and Christ, and some of these terms have been spun and used to cast spells on people, do verbal voodoo with them. But I don't think it's ever should be involved when we're talking about scripture. But we're talking about a bunch of people that are trampling on people's rights, genociding people and taxing people at the time of Christ. Christ whipped the people selling the doves, remember, because of the fees and the fines. So if Father whips me and beats me and stripes me because I cursed here and I went outside this covenant, I apologize. I really do, because I feel much better when I'm calm and I don't need to speak so much on these things again. And I'm not thinking about my dead, possibly son, or kidnapped or missing son or daughter. My mind is, but I can't, and I don't love my son more than me. I don't love him more than the word. I don't love him more than Father. And he knows that. I'm his dad, not his father.
right, bro? He's my brother, mother's son, you know, Rick. You see what I'm saying? But I'll get there. Um, and I know that I was very settled, and you can go look at thousands of hours that I had done work on this ministry. I didn't curse because I don't feel like that. You don't need to add those to the. This is what it made me stop. Something I can turn things off and never do them again. Like I don't smoke. When I stop smoking, I cold turkey. Like I haven't had a soda in like 10 or 12 years. It's been a long. I don't. When I stop doing something, that's it. It's a light switch. Love is not the same way, but things I can. So it turned on and I can turn it back off because it doesn't need added. And that's what I said. When I'm teaching, I can just throw F bombs instead and say shizer or whatever, shite or, you know, dung or whatever, and not be so profane with my so vulgar, you know what I'm saying, with my dialect, because I have the ability. Don't tell me you can't curse, Tracy. I've seen you sit there and hold a conversation about 15 things at one time. I've been in your ministry before. I know people think you're nuts. I can't even understand how you go through and you'll teach 5 things at the same time. If you're listening, you'll go back and hit all your points. Most of the time, you don't miss something. There'll be time when I get off the man, I didn't go back and hit that one point. In my check, I have to, my computer jammed or something. But anyways, I do apologize, but I can delete the cursing um, when my father will tell me where my son is at, and if he doesn't, I'm apologize. I don't know how to stop it. I can't. I don't. I can't let the concussion to my face be the excuse either. I can't let the stress be an excuse either. This I'm supposed to. We're all supposed to be more upright. So, but we are talking about again. Governance. Has literally stood on everybody and trampled their rights. It didn't. Wasn't just here in America. It was all nations that went under this spell of this illusion of this, great fear campaign that was put under people for some ring around the rosy, crown, like Corona, beer, bug. Remember that whole thing? I cannot still believe how far down the rabbit hole they got last time. And I constantly too think about it sometimes, guys. Like they could flip the switch. What the hell do I do? Because if I still have, I'm trying to think that my son could still be out there. Somehow he's kidnapped and somehow he just doesn't want to talk to me. I don't know. I make up excuses in my mind or whatever, coulda, shoulda, woulda, whatever those things. But, I need to die trying to know that at least I get some kind of closure, and answers. And it seems as if, that it shouldn't be the deal breaker on whether I curse in here or not. But it has a lot to do with my level of thought process because there's so much of that going on in the back of my head. Even when I talk to you, I'm thinking about 3 or 4 other things. And I know that's you guys, we all have a different brain, man. I really would never wish this brain upon anybody. I already told you it's very similar to like a quantum computer, the way my brain has separated itself and divided. And now I have these other files. It's like a algorithm, like a fifth dimensional computer that's far beyond quantum or like a D wave, not like evil, but anyways, I don't, it's a variable. It's just still that same algorithmic cycle. It's like math to me. I wish I didn't understand math like I did, actually. I really wish it went down the math rabbit hole, but father made me a reconstructionist, traffic crash. So I had to have an extremely high level of math. I had to bring myself up to speed. I remember Trooper Strasbaugh going through the Highway Patrol Academy and getting all my, you know, reconstruction certification. That seen all this, and man, I should have listened better in school. I don't think I made it out of algebra. I think I went into school about as high as I ever made it in high school, somewhere around there. I didn't go much further than that. I think that's about as high as I made it. Um, and I could have done more. I understood it. I just was thinking about it. I was thinking about wildlife and somewhere I was thinking about dying a lot. I was like thinking, man, things are going to be so much better after I'm not here on this rock anymore. I'm the craziest man alive, and my parents are weird, and my dad says the strangest things, and my mom is crazy, and my brothers are like the complete opposite of me, and I don't like to look like them. and everybody wants me to be them, and I don't want to be them, and I want to think about postage stamps and all the things. Why do they put all these images on postage stamps? And I would order things off of, National Geo. My brain was anywhere else but the world. So, yeah, yes, no, listen, Jen, Kevin has already done that with his daughter. So, a text message and has received. And I know that sounds nutty, but I know that guy's not crazy. It's like Kevin, the guy that he's not a guy. That is my brother, Kevin. He's has a different mindset than most people, and he understands. And people have forgotten that they have turned us into an antenna. What do you think all this spraying is about? What do you think all these millimeter wave towers, microwave, soup, stew? It's incredible. The Babylonian brain waves that flow through your brain and you don't realize it. You get turned to this mush American where you don't speak up about, a president who totally is involved in the Pizzagate and is in on it, and an EpiPen Island boy. And I've been saying that for how long in this channel, and now it's all front and center. It's right in front of everybody's face. How long have I gone? He's an island boy. How long have I been doing the island boy thing in here? And even before that, I've warned if this man is covering, and now he straight is doing this. So, um, they have the ability to do so much more tech. They're about to ready to release it all. Remember, voice to skull technology was about messenger pigeons that Tesla was messing with, guys. There's a lot more there than you thought that you ever even knew. They're far superior technology than they're ever led any of this general public on to. And that's where they're headed. They're going to bring this into this tech, microwave, like ding, it's going to be done in a country minute watch, warp speed, and that thing will be out like that microwave burrito. It'll happen like that. I'm telling you, any moment, any day, they could take everybody right back to COVID standards at least, and that's going to be the minimum of next time of what they do to this nation. The minimum. As hard as they lock down on Australia, I bet you it'd be 10 times harder for the world, and it'd be different because we didn't have military on the streets during the vid. He said he was going to bring the vid. Warp Speed said, I'm going to bring the military out on, I'm going to use the National Guard, bring him to your door to help deliver you that greatest jab ever in Warp Speed. I haven't forgotten. I don't forget these things. Hold on, this is a military plan. I got to check this one out. This is a jab. All right, I knew that was going to happen. They got jets out here. Although it's smoky because we're just starting to get some of the smoke that's coming in pretty hard. It's not near as smoky as it was out yesterday. So I got a clear blue sky. Not one airplane in the sky. Not one chemtrail. I got a 360 degree where I'm at. I can see all the sky. No visual on that bird. How copy? I know. That's why I got up. I know that particular sound of that particular bird. Whatever they do, that bird, I can never find it. So I got up off my ass and like, wait a minute. So the Air Force is put in a military base out here, guys. My hamburger I made from earlier. So I'm sure there's going to be a lot more things seen out in this valley that has, this valley's known for or whatever. But please be ready. Why aren't they flying those drones all over the place like they were? They were seeing them everywhere. Remember, guys? They do this stuff all the time. Why isn't Kim Jong-un going to bomb us? What happened to ISIS? What happened to all these Sandy hoax? They do these things in cycles, guys. This is all scripted, and people fall for it, thinking it's real. And real people die in a lot of these situations, but they make these. You can't, how could it be a conspiracy? About 3 buildings with 2 airplanes that drop. How could it be a conspiracy theory when they wrote the whole plot 20 years before they drop, right? So if you know which papers to look at, Building 7 was CIA headquarters. Remember, hello, headquarters, come in, headquarters. Is this code name Hard Hat? No, let's not go there. I'm not going to do it. See, I'll try to. Hey, you know who this is? No, who is this is? Bye-bye, Lord. No. All right, better not do. I was doing some up in smoke there. Sorry. The pit will rise, or the smoke out of the pit. So no, really, guys. I mean, there's a huge thing that just happened. There's 2 things that I think that have just happened. I don't think if people are paying attention to. Trump just gaslighted his whole MAGA base and said, if you don't listen to me, if you don't follow me, just get on my train. You can't listen to what I say. You just got to do what I tell you. I don't care if remember, this is the same thing that I was trying to explain to you about how they get a trophy if they lose. So will they scoop up on this? There will be people who will refuse this, guys. But no matter what, it's one thing to say he's not on the list. It's another thing to say the list doesn't exist when, remember, it was already on Pam's desk. This thing has been mentioned throughout. I mean, how many times did Dan Bongino say he's, we're going after this, whatever, and there's all this historical record that has been televised of even these lamestream media program, this Mockingbird, they say the same thing, Project Mockingbird. They tell you the same script. So it's been scripted. So they're going back and completely lying about history and saying, no, this didn't even exist. It's the Democrats that are making this up. It doesn't exist. He has no clients. Epstein didn't Epstein himself, right? How could they turn? What about Maxwell? Isn't she in jail right now? Ghislaine Maxwell, isn't she sitting in prison or something? See what I'm saying? So this is why, if you were paying attention, while you see this guy is the kingpin. Remember, he had people drinking vomit had people slamming the hopium, right? But then he came in and everybody started drinking the Kool-Aid with the I'm going to audit the Fed. And I'm gonna have a special investigation because Hillary prison, you know, and it wasn't just because why was she gonna get locked up? Oh, that was the Kool-Aid with the wide Broadway pizza gate, wide gate, right? Nothing ever came. All these underground arrests, all these, they got people drinking that Kool-Aid. Started that whole movement, and people picked up a mass amount of people, of truthers and people, you know, and staunch, you know, Republicans, you know, and and scooped up all this base of people out here on the internet. YouTube, many YouTube, you know, people, content creators got, like Jesse from BP, Real PP Earthwatch. He got right back on that stinking track. I've been giving Jesse a hard time since. I hope he'll back the hell out now, or I will unsubscribe from Jesse from Real BP Earthwash. If he puts out another, I don't care how good his damn content is. If you're just going to lick the devil's boots, if you will, and just pander to him and not stand up and say, "Hey, I don't care. You can put on lipstick and fishnet stockings and high heels. I'm not gonna. You're not pretty. You can put lipstick on a pig. I ain't gonna kiss it. Okay, them fishnet stockings don't fool me. You know, devil comes knocking at your door in long, you know, fishnet stockings and high heels and, you know, rosy red lipstick. Are you gonna give her a kiss? You know." Old Jezebel there. But anyways, so I don't understand, um, how could he even deny this at this point? It shows the flagrant disregard for the general public that you're going to lay down. I think that's why we've seen not just National Guard, but we've seen active duty Marines on the streets, brothers, sisters. And this dude loves the police and loves the military industrial complex. That's why he's funding this war machine. He's a bankster, is what he is. Donald Bankster, you're fired. Muster McScrooge Moneybags is, you know, 58-story, 66 penthouse decked out with gold and gods and sun gods, Apollyon, and just flagrantly right in everybody's face. So please don't want to be these people in history that don't at least speak up and say something about this stuff, guys. You know, we do not partake in unfruitful works of darkness, rebuke them with light, is what it says. So it doesn't say you can to sit down and shut up about this. This is not the time. The guy is covering for all the I don't care if he's on the list or not. We know he's on the list, but he's covering for all everybody else. I told you he paid for the bath oil at the Diddy party. He's the one who paid for the big bed. It's a Hollywood bed. You ever seen a Hollywood sized bed? This is even bigger than that. You guys, you wouldn't even imagine. That's a big bed. There's a lot of them does, you know, or well, PETA running around in Hollywood, isn't there? What are you barking at? They didn't bark at that big plane. You gonna bark at that one? What are you barking at? So, um, how is he getting away with this? And I think he will. I think he'd be able to get away with. I think the general public would just stand down and not even care. You know, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. They're all on the list, guys. That's what I've been trying to tell you. Elon's on the list too. Don't fool yourself. Elon is on the list. I don't care. He's the one who came out and fired this back at this. See, that's why I try to say you can't say that. Elon can't say, and this is an act too. This is the same thing. They're going to gaslight people. Watch. Musk will go back under MAGA again. He'll put his black hat back on, and he'll go. They'll suck the Iron Man. Will go hang out with his Clay, you know, his Golden Age buddy, and they'll do their, you know, Golden Age Swiss cheese dome like they did over Israel, and they're going to Swiss cheese this place too. But they're going to do it with drones and with satellites and with tech and scare everybody here to, you know, encamp you in is the saints, and you want to be in the bowl or the cup and not be poured out on the nations. That wrath you have, the blood of the saints will be in that cup of wrath that's poured out. So I hope your blood. I hope you've been spiritually been baptized day after day after day after day after day after you keep sitting down there in that fire and brine and suffering, because it will come to a point where you will be lifted out of there and you'll be a whole new man, a whole new woman. You won't be this what you were, and you can't go back to what you were. You've been refined now, like fire through the fire. Gold and silver doesn't become pure without an intensification in a long period of heat. It doesn't form that slag, that, you know, that impurity runoff that he beats out of us. So don't fall for this golden dragon, you know, great red dragon, because that's where this is headed. From the golden dragon will be given the authority over to that child, will be consumed by that dragon. And that's what it's speaking of. This whole system is changing, and they're going over to a digital communism. I don't think you've ever heard that before, but it's what they did to China. They have them what was called on a sesame, not like, you know, the mustard seed, sesame seed, but it's called sesame credit, like your credit score. And they went off of like people who are bootlickers, pig lickers. So the more you love the government, the more you would report things that were not in the line of the CCP, you know, that they would give you points and brownie and, you know, whatever, you know, buttons, you know, and I don't know what it was, but then they would give you a higher score, and you could raise your score above others, and they would have a higher credit score. And now that is called digital communism over there in Russia, right? Oh, wait, they're communists too. They'll be not long. Don't forget about Russia. They're that same player in the game. Everybody thinks that Putin's in on, not, no, he's in on the same. They're the same team, wings to the same dragon, guaranteed. Everybody's getting played here. They're all cheeks to the same hole. I don't care which cheek you start slapping around there. It's not going to change anything. You're still playing with the, you know, on somebody's backside, and you need to get away from that pit, because that's what these people do. They make it blatantly obvious what they like to do. That's why they do all this, you know, what is it, February, Lupercalia, behind worship, dog star, like doggy style. Smack that down on the floor, smack that. What do you think that heart is? That shape of that backside of that heart? Well, it looks an awful lot like a anus, doesn't it? Yeah. Like what does Star Trek and yeah, have in common? They both fly. Oh, well, Star Trek and toilet paper have in common. They both fly around Uranus looking for Klingons. Now move on. All right, would you? So toilet paper. That's a whatever. Had to pull that one out of the archives, but these people are on, their mind is spun. You know, how could you allow that this is so blatantly in our face, that this has been allowed to be done to us? Like, for example, our I apologize, that was it's Uranus, not Uranus. Okay, but it is what it is. But yeah, like I say, guys, I appreciate it hanging out. Thanks for helping me kind of bring me down just a little, bring me back up a little bit, not down. I was just a little disappointed coming in this morning, thinking that I'm going to have to kind of squash this whole Ecuador thing for a while, because I have to take the Ecuador money, and I'm just giving it. I'm giving it up. I'm probably not going to sell anything because I only have now one more day, so I'm going to just have to take the precious metals that I have in to get the retainer, and we'll work on trying to obtain more items to maybe trade in the future or anything. But I just know that precious metals will double probably in value, where the dollars will just lose value. So it'd be better if I could sell that land, even if I have to take a $20,000 hit on it in the market, and who cares? You know, you can literally see the school from this property. It is the closest property in this whole county to the school. So I don't know why I had so much interest on it. And well, I know what happens is I get shut down after about 2 or 3 hours. I've already talked about it, maybe 5 hours at the most. So, um, you know, it'll work out, because I can go file suit. So we'll get there. Again, I apologize. I just was feeling a little down, you know, today like that. Just like, man, I don't have enough time. I wish I had another couple of weeks to try to come up with this cash to cover this criminal case that I have. But, and like I said, then I started feeling a little, not guilty, because it's like, you know, the ministry's paid off. Like, man, you should have just paid that off. You should have went and got the attorney already and paid the ministry off now, you know. But I don't have the regrets. Like I said this morning, it was just kind of beating me up. My mind doesn't work like that. When I make a decision, I've stood on it or something. But I was just trying to think, well, what if your son's suffering? Maybe you could have located him sooner. I don't think anything would have been different. I think we'd be right where we're at right now. So um, this is the way Father wants it to be. I'm saying. Um, so if I didn't have any faith, I wouldn't be here today. I know that. So um, my day of death's written already, even though that I know that my bodily could be, cause me bodily injury. They already assaulted me and my son and my daughter, that they could easily do it again. Um, I just have to stand in that, and whatever happens in this case, I'll stay here and serve through this. And now I need to, now, like I said, it's kind of coming to me. I got to let the Ecuador thing go for a minute until I file these lawsuits, um, and hold the people accountable. Then I'm not going to get any closure. I'm not going to be able to move forward. I need to move forward in this. So it's kind of not my fault like that, but because I didn't file the suits already, because I didn't take money and put it towards an attorney. I put it towards um, the paid the ministry off. It delayed this case, but I was hoping that they'd provide me counsel, open the case, and realize that they had assaulted me and my daughter and my son, and drop it because there's a violation. It's a criminal, that they made massive amount of mistakes. So it'll work itself out. And like I said, it's just a big change that kind of overcame me this morning about, even, it's not easy for anybody to come up with that kind of money right now. Even, like I said, I had some guy telling me he'd trade me a Tesla wall, $500 payments, but I can't use the Tesla wall right now. I'd love to have that Tesla wall. 6 months from now, guys, that would have been the biggest blessing that this ministry ever could have probably had. And it's not that I support Tesla. This is an off-grid ministry, and that could have kept it off the grid, is what I'm saying. I would have never had to hook up to a power pole. I'd be paying for the whole power for the whole ministry, and run a studio, freeze dryers, and a couple cabins, a well pump, and still run sprinklers, and still have stuff, solar, in certain areas. But a majority of all this front up here could have just been. I just can't do that right now. I need the cash to get the attorney. So the Tesla wall, where would I come up with the remaining 20? Like I said, I don't think anybody here has even $1,000, and I really wish that if somebody donated, they wouldn't donate any less than $1,000, because that doesn't seem like, if you couldn't at least donate $1,000, that you're not doing. You don't have abundance right now. You know what I'm saying? You don't have the abundance right now. So um, that would be wrong of me to even ask for a case that I got involved in, when I could have kept my mouth shut. But I won't. I'm going to stand up against perversion. As the if they're going to try to throw my son in jail, I have the right to speak up, and I will, do it until, like I said, I find out where he's at. So I apologize again for being up and down here today like that. I just woke up after laying there, and just was really thinking about, I've got to let this whole going to Ecuador thing go for a while, and get these lawsuits filed so that I can leave the country without having any issues, and looking over my shoulder, and I'll have closure then. But I don't want to be here in this country at all. But oh well. So I'll move on from that. I'm starting to have kids myself with that, and like I said, if Father wanted the ministry to sell, it would have sold. Or not the ministry, this property over here on the highway, it would have sold for the 38,000 that I originally listed. I was having a lot of people interested in, and even a couple of people come look at it back then. And it's when I lowered the price too that it again, I got interest. But I've actually had some people like double your price. Somebody said that the other day, and now I just cut it in half. So, but it would pay the attorney to pay to at least to find out if my son is dead. I would pay all of it, even if I don't care what happens, even if I can find out, if John can find out that if Elijah's dead, alive, where he's at. I, I'd have to give up all this gold and silver for that. Would you? Would you? If you had a, I think I have a right about $15,000 added up in gold and silver, and maybe a little less, but it is what it is. Right about right now. I thought I had a little more, but I always forget premiums and things like that. And when you sell it, you don't get the exact amount that you pay for it. And there's just these. But if you would you pay, if because that's all I have. I don't have. If I had more, I'd give it up too. Last time I had 40 pounds of silver and gold. Um, this time I have, you know, not nearly as much silver, but would you give up all your precious metals to find out if your son and daughter were alive, and give up your dream to go to Ecuador? So it's okay. It can happen in the future. You know what I'm saying? Well, Ecuador is a constitutional republic, for one. I just didn't pick Ecuador for any reason. I do a lot of research. Like I did a lot of research forever, moved out to this valley, and I can tell people things about this valley that have lived here 50 years, don't know anything. They've been here their whole lives. They're like, didn't even know that. I grew up in this valley. Well, I know I do a lot of research before I do something. So I've done a lot of research about Ecuador. Um, I'm looking for a temperate climate that I can grow food for the ministry. I want to tithe food for them. That's the only reason why I wasn't purchasing the property for me. Like I just didn't take the $27,000 cash or whatever that I had and get the attorney that I probably should have done, but it is what it is. And maybe it would have been further along. Who knows what would have happened? Anything is possible, but instead I paid the ministry off. So when I'm trying to take this gold and silver that I have now and hold on to it, because I got involved with a legal battle with the state because they were trying to arrest my son. He'd already done his probation twice, and I wasn't going to let him go to prison after doing his probation twice and doing everything he needed to do. I don't care. Still to this day, it is what it is. I have to accept it. But I'm trying to go to Ecuador because it is a constitutional republic and grow food. That country is an expat friendly. The U.S. dollar is their means of exchange right now. It's where I'm looking at it. The price it's $2 to $3 for a meal in most places in Ecuador. It's like living in the late 80s, early 90s. People don't think it's like that because they're Americans, but you have American money. You know what I'm saying? It's like if I could just get out of this country with the precious metals that I have, a gold ounce would get you by for a year. You understand? You can get a full plate with the meat, rice, beans, like a carne asada plate for $3 with a glass of juice, not soda. They have it down there, but they'll, a glass of juice. You get a full meal, a meat, a vegetable, a starch, or starter bread, and a glass for $2 to $3. That's one silver dime. That's why I heavily invested in fractional because I wanted to take my retirement down there and go down there and take the American dollars that I have because they go a lot further down there. There's many countries you can go and live on $500 a month. I encourage you look that up on the internet. Look up countries I could live for $500, $1,000, $1,500. You would be blown away at all the countries outside of America that you could go and have. Again, I talked about this the other day, guys. People lived in America. They don't have any friends because everybody's so trying to get to work and get by and just can barely make it. People move outside with their retirement of $1,200 to $1,500 and live comfortably and have money put away and then start making friends. They go down to do things and people introduce themselves and want to do things with them. And they make friends. Like I didn't have any friends for 20 years. I moved out of the country. I got 5 friends now. I hear that a lot. It ain't about making friends in the world, but it's about having some social life, man. Here in America, it's so expensive. You got to rob Peter to pay Paul. It's the average home in Bend, Oregon is $800,000. Every third home sold for $1 million. It's unbelievable. So you can go to a country like Ecuador, where I have done my research, and move to this town out. It's 4 hours from Zumba in the country. Understand? It's a country property, but that's what I do. I'm a farmer, so I want to farm and grow food and get other people down there to the ministry like me that want to farm and then live organically. It's sure if you go into town every once in a while and eat some crap, but it's not going to hurt you if you just eat it every once in a while. But no more eating box, bag, or canned food. I want to eliminate that from my diet, and it's almost impossible to do where I live. You know what I'm saying? And I wouldn't be able to do that in prison either. So if I father don't want me to eat an organic diet, I won't. So, but anyways, this ministry can produce food here, and it eventually will. I've kind of slacked on it for a while, and like I said, it's not. I'm doing things. I've just been super hyper focused on trying to locate my son. I think he's been kidnapped, and that's going to be the best case scenario. I think at this point. I mean, I don't see how by his will he would just go on the run for something that again, he could prove in a court of law but they weren't even trying. They were just going to do what they did to me. Today is the 16th, if I'm not mistaken, right? They were just going to throw me in prison. I probably would have been gavel closed, case closed, and I'd be taken on my way, going back to and waiting for my sentence or something. They were just going to throw me under the bus. You understand? Um, but it is what it is. I'm going to continue to try to get this remaining funds. I have a couple days, and like I said, it's $15,000. That's about what I have in the precious metals. I'll take them down, and let me take this call, guys. I gotta take this call. I won't be on here long. Like I said, I have a long day tomorrow. I have to take care of all my business for mañana. Not sure who's still in here. See who's in here. I assume you guys are still in here having a conversation. So, all right. Appreciate your company, guys. Again, I just kind of woke up on the wrong side of bed this morning with the whole idea that I had to give up the whole Ecuador idea. But I do think what I need to do is I need to get through this criminal case first, and then I can work on the civil case, because I know I have massive civil violations, rights violations, which I couldn't be placed under lawsuit. So I have to get this attorney to place civil or criminal charges against these officers for they lost their qualified immunity. They can't break the law, so they can't assault me. They can't assault my daughter, and that was assault. So I'm gonna be having a lengthy discussion again with counsel and going through evidence to show them this does not need to go to a trial, because if it did, they would lose the trial to begin with. They're not justified. Again, I don't think their warrant has enough merit, and I think they'll struggle right out the gate. And I've tried to keep that, like I said, some of these things under wraps, but I told you they didn't have a warrant. I didn't think their warrant was warranted to begin with. So I wouldn't have done what I did if I didn't believe that they had warrant to do what they did. So my son is his own man, and if he's doing what he wants right now, then that's what he does, so we'll see if this all works out. But I need to plan to stay here and not go anywhere right now, and that's a little discerning to me, or disheartening, excuse me, because I want to grow food for the ministry, and I want to get this expanded, and I want to get on the road, and I don't want to have I'm going to have some bit of time. I know once this next step, I take this next step with the Ecuador property, that'll be able to pull the people that I need to be. I know I can bring people from South America to, to that property. I won't have problems down there like I would struggle with, like I have here for 10 years. I've tried to bring people to this property and nobody showed up, but I just think it'd be a little different down there. And then this would all work out up here too. So everything will work out, but I got to get through this criminal case first. And I'm so thankful because today is the day of my trial, that they had me set for trial. So I would have potentially been in contempt of court, because I wouldn't behave in their courtroom, because I didn't have witnesses called in my favor and knows that I was thrown onto the bus, and they probably just would have thrown me and taken me to the back, and that'd have been a wrap. So probably would have been all you would have seen of me today would probably been the last day you would have seen me, guys. I would have got a hold of you this morning and say, okay, I'm going to trial. There's nobody there, but I'm going, and don't think it would have fended out very well. I don't think I would have made it to day 2 of my trial, which should be considerably a lot longer than the 2-day trial. But that's nice to know, because I don't think we'd be having any conversations for years at this point. So I thank Father that I have the blessings to have these precious metals, which once again is supposed to buy this property, so that my retirement is going on the road. That's how I plan on retiring. That property is pretty much already built down there. I mean, I could add to, a bunch to it and dress it up in a month or something and then be on the road, you know what I'm saying, and have it in full operating capacity, because it's already working on the grid farm, organic farm that's been going for decades. So I'm buying a farm down there is what I'm buying. I should mention that's what I'm buying. I'm buying a farm. So it's a fruit and vegetable farm. And I plan on putting, livestock there as well. Potentially, a few different kinds of livestock to be able to also give to the ministry. So I got to let that go though, because I have to spend this money. The criminal attorney. I don't think, again, there's anybody who has $1,000 or even $2,000 or $3,000 just to even save one piece of gold. For that, I think I'm going to have to take every piece of silver and every piece of gold that I have and take it to the. I've never done that before, but people have done it for me. I think they've taken mine and done it, but and get the cash and give it to the attorney for the retainer and just move forward. And it's not like I can't make more money. I just would have to get my tail in gear. So, um, you know, there's things I can do out here. There's ways for me to draw income out here. I have not, like, there's not ways for me to make a potential to earn income. Uh, I know that though. Seriously, MS, and then nobody be out looking for my son right now, right? So, no matter what happens in the case, even if I have to give up all my precious metals and nothing happens in the Ecuador property, and I have to squash that dream for now, if I could just find out even from the attorney if my son is alive, well, dead. I just spoke with Kevin. I just apologize for the interruption. I had to speak with Kevin, and I said I would give that all up. I give up all my precious metals just to know he's alive and well right now, and okay, or that he's not here. I need some closure on these. It's been 15 months almost since I've had the last time I saw my son. He got shot, and so that's a hard, you know. And actually, I did only see him, that time in jail, but just a little sliver, and I could barely see his eyes, and he was just, only seeing a little bit of person. Not gonna. He didn't look good. His eyes didn't look good at all, and like I said, they were telling me that he wasn't eating any food, and it wasn't in a good way. So, um, but maybe we'll get some closure. They have a pre-trial conference again, or a status hearing on the 28th. They didn't tell me that, but I found that out. So um, he'll keep me updated on what's going on with the case for sure. But I'm going to have a lengthy discussion again with him. And so I should be okay. Again, I do think that filing these civil lawsuits will not take me any money. I don't think I'll have to pay for a civil lawsuit attorney. And maybe the land will sell then, and that money will go towards the civil lawsuit attorney. So, where do I think the civil lawsuits will end? I millions of dollars, tens, 50, 100, hundreds of millions of dollars. I think just the live stream alone is not me, because Elijah and Adriana are separate lawsuits. They have their own civil lawsuits for what was done to them. But they excessively grenaded me by targeting me. They came out and used excessive force, lost their qualified immunity, and broke the law and committed assault and battery to my face and my lungs and my eye, my vision, and my hearing. And so I have suffered from, trying to be silenced. Literally hit me in my mouth so I can't, tear gas me, get my lungs, take out my eyes, my vision with the flash grenade, and my hearing with the concussion. So they hit me all my senses, And you can taste that tear gas. So you got to imagine what it was like being inside this cabin with 5 tear gas canisters. And I was only doing that to try to get my dogs out of here because I didn't want them to shoot my dogs. And you can hear me saying that. What about my dogs, guys? I have animals, and I'm not grabbing for guns. I'm just grabbing nothing, clothes. I'm putting my clothes on and telling them I'll come out, and telling them I'll come out with my hands in the air, complying, being, complying to them, just only wanting to know why they were here, what was a warrant for, and I have that right to know that again. So they didn't execute the warrant properly. I knew anybody who looks at the SWAT raid warrant be able to tell that. So I'm so thankful that I was able to live stream that, because otherwise I don't think I'd be here. It would have dumped and dropped this case. I think that there is something about this live stream that I've always felt comfortable that if I went to a jury and a jury just looked at the live stream, they wouldn't convict me or Adriana or Elijah, because we all went without being combative, and we all were assaulted, and we all were attacked. Even Adriana, and I never knew that she was attacked and assaulted too. They threw a grenade inside of that, and if not, I want to see the body cam. Why did I find a second grenade and not hear it? Because that's how they woke up, and that's why they broke that window out of that motorhome and threw that in there where they were sleeping. They woke up to a flash grenade. To imagine that. And that had to be right next to them, guys, because if they tossed it in, it probably landed on the bed that they were laying on, because they were right there. I mean, it could have went, but it's just a small motorhome. That thing, and it's got a thick walls. It's a fiberglass. It's not this little thin wall. It's a fiberglass 3-coat gel coat motorhome. It's a different, it's an older Bandura, but it's that held. I'm sure it held that concussed. So they assaulted my daughter, and I'm sure that that is excessive force, because they didn't make any threat to them at all. That's how they were woken up, guys. I want to see the body cam footage. Is that how Elijah and Adriana were woken up, by being flash grenaded? That's excessive force, man. Yeah, they arrested her and they didn't have a warrant for her arrest. Rusty, they didn't have a warrant for her arrest. They had no warrant, no indictment, no sign by a judge calling out who and where they were going to search. So that's illegal. That's an illegal warrant that they served. Not only did they do it improperly, but that's illegal. They took her body, and they said they Mirandized her, but they should have never even taken her body. But they didn't go the way that they had planned. They never planned on me not coming out of this cabin without a gun. They wanted to shake me, snap me back into my, training, to my being a veteran, and to protect my son, and come out. And I told them that I wasn't going to. So they're stupid enough not to watch the 258 hours that a jury would have to watch of me pleading to them, don't bring guns in here. Don't bring men with guns in here. We can talk about these hours that you say my son didn't do. He didn't only do them once, but he did it twice. And he still has 3 months left on his probation. You can't be trying to convict him right now. What you're doing is illegal. You're trying to wrongfully convict him. And I have the right to protect him under affirmative defense. So I need to talk with John about that again. I want to make sure that it's very strong in this case, if it ever did go to trial, that I have that Fourth Amendment right. We all do, to be secure in our houses, papers, persons, and effects. And when they violate that by, waking you up from a dead sleep, when there's no warrant for your arrest by grenade, that's excessive force. My daughter has a massive lawsuit against the state of Oregon and Lake County, Oregon. And now the feds shouldn't got involved. So she had, or could have got involved, and they haven't. When I warned them before any of this could have ever happened, I called the Department of Justice at the top. I started on the top and worked my way down to my local governor and special investigation office, because it involved the state, and not one call from any of these agencies has ever been placed to my phone. Ever have I received a call that I've been able to pick up, or somebody left a message that I missed or something, and nothing. There's been no call placed by any of these agencies that I've called to try to get them to come out before my son and daughter were ever missing. So they're 100% liable. And so is Dave Vanderberg, because remember, I called Josephine County and they threatened to arrest me because I said my son had been kidnapped or, potentially murdered, just like you had to hear that judge tell me that I was speaking gibberish and that it was like speaking to a wall, and that I was nutty for bringing up the fact that my son was potentially murdered in his county that he's a seated judge in, and then being threatened again with being thrown in jail. Again, I got threatened to be thrown in jail for telling this to the judge that my son has been, oh my gosh, guys. I'll get some closure someday. So I don't know if that's going to be anytime soon, but I'm hoping it will be. And I get threatened all the time, EMS, by these cops literally running over my property. Have you gone and seen the live stream where I document all the pole being run over by the cops, and then them calling my phone 98 times from a private number? And the only time I've ever got a call from a private number and picked it up, it's been from the sheriff's office out here, block number. I have it all documented. Who do you call when the cops are menacing you, harassing you, and driving over your property? And then they have the audacity to drive back to the scene of the crime, like an arsonist will normally go back to see his, work, if you will. Arsonists get caught going back to they got to go back and see the burnt, remains of what they did, their victims, or what. I don't know what kind of sick, twisted person would do that, but this is what they did. They come back, and that says, okay, see, now the tire prints match exactly the cop car. See, I told you it's them. Can we ping their phones, please? Because they all had duty phones on them, and I'm sure their patrol vehicles all have a tracking device. Will it show that via satellite hitting the pole on my property? How much you want to bet? $15,000 it's them. It's their car, because the crash bar, the push bar on the front of the vehicle was too far away from where it hit the pole. It had a push bar on the front of it. So it's just obvious that it was their vehicle. You know what I'm saying? And I even pulled all the, what is known as the forensics, to pull the outside dimension, that from was 6 feet, 57. It matched theirs exactly. So who do you call when you call your attorney and you ask them to call but he wouldn't do anything about it? Remember, he told me if I was so worried about the police menacing, harassing me, that I needed to go get a psychological mental evaluation, and he could use that in the case. That feels like a setup to me, eh? You see the stuff that has happened? I don't understand this, guys. I don't. It's beyond any comprehension of anything I ever would have even imagined that it would ever happen in this case. I could have never even thought that at least you thought they would have tried me by now, 15 months later, and they haven't even tried me because they say I'm not getting along with my attorneys because the attorneys don't want to do their job. So stop trying to micromanage. Just listen to what the attorney So you don't want to talk about the assault, the attempted murder. You don't want to talk about this, judge bias, jury bias, none of this, and Paul Palmer, at first he listened, but then he never did anything. It's just like they put him in there as a blocker and thought I think that's what they did. I think they assigned Paul Palmer thinking that they can assign him and he didn't have to do anything, and I would, and they could get me on some other charge, like they tried to pull me on that failure to appear and menacing and harassing the police. And I guarantee that charge ain't going to stick, by telling the cops, where's my son at, and then catching, charges saying you're harassing people, and then turn around and file harassment charges about me. It was all filmed that day, even, the body cam, I hope he had it on. And, no, that's fine. I don't care whatever they want to do. I am crazy because I'm not like this world. I don't believe in this corporation, revised statute. This isn't even legal, or is it lawful to do what they're doing to me to begin with? I've never been arrested under a capital letter name. So they're fooling themselves. And even if they get away with it, they're not going to get away with it for life. Well, they will in this lifetime, but not in the next couple judgments. So Father pours out the judgments. That's what able to not go try to plan some vengeance on any of these men or judges or or none of these people. I don't. They got to sleep in their own bed at nights and know what they did. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person they've done this to, but I don't think anybody's ever come in this county like myself, because Father made me come here. I knew before I came out here that this town had an issue with corrupt cops. You can find the history in this town. It's known for that. Okay. It's not like it's not known. So, you know, they stand up to corrupt cops. They're going to throw, every time that I've done something, they filed retaliatory charges, basically, in this case. It's been all, it's bogus. So I'm not hindering you from prosecuting my son. What you're doing is illegal. He's already done his probation times 2. You don't want to look into the evidence. That's not my fault. I thought you were innocent until proven guilty. So I pleaded them for 258 hours and years prior not to kick this case into the courts. As far as the county, the whole corruption, that we could deal with this at a grassroots level, because I'm a prior law enforcement. That's a professional courtesy, is what is known in law enforcement. Like, you don't bust another cop. Okay, well, I tried to deal with this at a grassroots level, and without it getting kicked into the courts. I tried to get the elected sheriff, like tried to get him to come out and stand with the businesses during the COVID. I tried to get him to come out to my house and have a discussion about his corrupt cops, like Angela that had stole $25,000 from me, with the lady who I thought was murdered ended up alive. Maybe that's what's going on with my son. She wasn't, but hey, how was I to know? I brought them to all the evidence and they never wanted to look at the evidence. And so I did my own investigation and actually found out that the lady was alive, but actually found out that I had told Tom Rourke that this lady was murdered and he never told me she was alive. Why would Tom, and I told it to him many times, Tracy, that woman's alive. Stop talking about her. Because he was involved on the case where all her stuff got taken from her by her sister. When her mom died, she got robbed. And I didn't know that the estate that I had bought was from a lady who robbed it basically from her sister. It said she went missing years prior and that she had to go through the estate, and it was all legit. Everything was there. I bought 2 estates. I bought the old lady who died and the missing person, because she has been gone for too long, and the state was, she never let her sister come back and get her stuff. I didn't know anything about that, but that's in my own investigation. That's what I found out. That took me years of investigating, guys, that case. I lost $25,000 in that case, in that particular thing, because that's the first time I came into the absolute corruption that these cops will be covering and doing things for, and I had to just lose $25,000 worth of stuff. And that's how I make my livelihood, and I was actually doing it to do somebody a favor. So, I bought 2 separate estates. I paid for 2 estates. I had 2 witnesses. My son actually came out to town out of nowhere. He never even came onto the estate, but his phone could be pinged to the driveway. And he just standing in town. Hey, what's going on? Good to see you. I'm busy, dude. Oh, I know. I've done that before, Dad. He's loading stuff on the trailer and getting it out of there. They'll sort it once it goes back off. We don't sort it here. We sort it there. You pay for the sort time. It takes longer. The person pays more. You put it on the trailer. You get it all. I've done this before, and I was trying to help them. They were over their head. I went in on a dumpster full of, some of the stuff was brand new and had price tags. I'm like, whoa, these people are over their head. They don't know how to get rid of all this out in the middle of nowhere. It's not going anywhere. And I tried to help them out and do what I do as a clean out, and I'd bought a couple things at first and from their estate, sale, and asked them in their middle and, out here nowhere, and came back and said, hey, I'd like to make an offer on all of it. Let me help you out. I've done this. I'll send you pictures of everything. You guys can leave today. If you've been here for a week, your mother passed, you got a missing this is hard time. Let me help you out. I can help myself out too. I'll take these goods. There's obviously some goods that are worth money here, but my services will provide. You're going to be able to leave today, and not all. You can walk here and know that this all will be taken care of. I'll send you. You're going to have to put some trust in me, but if you do, I'll show you pictures. And she was totally happy with the first estate clean out, and then I had to wait a week to get into one more week on paper to get into the house that I went and looked at was her missing sister, and everything, it was more than that. I'm sure there was more than that. I'm just being, even she said when I talked to her that she thought it was at least $25,000 worth of stuff, even her laptops. And I bought everything but the appliances in the kitchen. I got, and not the refrigerator, but the washer and dryer. And so, um, some of the other stuff, all the, there was all, and it was real nice and new, that house wasn't that old. And actually her sister robbed that house from her. Her mom bought her that house, and she took care of her mom for 5 years in her last years of care of her mom's. She only wanted to take care of her mom, and she ends up getting all her stuff stolen from her, guys. So that's how I first ran into the corruption out here with these cops, and they wouldn't do anything, and I wasn't happy about it. I'm like, this is crazy, because they actually, and then years later, they threatened on that same deal, the lady who I'd gotten robbed for one car. There was two cars there. The guy that I was with had me helping. I told him, because he's a car freak, that the hood was up. Don't ask this lady about this car. I've already asked her about this one. We're going to take this one. She doesn't have the keys. We'll probably get the keys inside. Okay, if not, we're going to put it on a tow dolly. This one stays. Don't ask her. It goes to the cleaning lady. She already explained to me that's part of the lady's cleaning ladies, the service. She's get the freezer inside. My phone would never be tracked inside the house because they had already moved everything out of mom's estate. So there was a freezer in here that the lady told me that's the cleaning ladies that was they were doing the clean out inside the house. I didn't meet her that day. I knew she was there, but, uh, there was somebody in the house, but I didn't go in the house. And I told him too, don't go in there. Everything we're doing is outside. Okay. And then I actually went over to the second estate when I said, what's going on with this? Because it looked like it was on the same property. She said, oh, that's my sister. She went missing. I said, well, does that need part of the clean? What's going on with that vehicle? I want to do clean outs. I don't care what's here. Value doesn't mean anything to me. I get it out of here and make it so you can sell the property, list it on the market, and get it sold. I've worked for property management companies. Here's my reference, IPMG or whatever. And so clean out the first one. Second one, I was supposed to get let in by the realtor. I'd spoken with, this realtor is supposed to let me in, give me the key or whatever, and I do the clean out in a week. And then the very next day, stuff on the porch started disappearing. When I went back, there were things inside the estate like plants, which was odd. I'm like, how are there plants alive in here? And they were more like succulents, Um, and the lights were on, and the sister went missing. It just, and for a couple of years, she said something like that, or and that's why it was held. But I found those plants outside, and I'm like, what the hell? So I called her, like, hey, there's somebody going in this house. We have a contract here. If something gets taken, this could get held up in probate even longer. You're selling something you removed from the property, it has to by a certain date. And she would never answer my call again. And I found out that I don't know if she double sold it. I actually think what had ended up happening is because I started advertising some of this stuff for on sale online and putting a little history behind it, because this lady had lived in this valley for a long time. She had some kind of unique antiques, some little, stuff, and the little history behind it will give it a little elevated price. That's how a lot of antiques work. They come with some history. So I don't think she wanted the light on the fact that what had gone out there. And she's like, man, I can't have this guy selling all that. She can sell all my sister's stuff and bring all the attention. So there's motive on that one too. And like I said, I lost $25,000, and Tom Rourke wouldn't do anything. And I actually found out why, because Tom Rourke's the one who went out there that day and told, Angela, to her sister, she couldn't come on the property and she couldn't come get her stuff. And she was blocked from getting her home stuff, her home house. She took care of her mom for 5 years, and her sister's filthy rich. You know what I'm saying? She got money, lives in California. And so that was a crazy, like I said. So this started this downward spiral with me, and then pointing out that, and then, hey, you guys are corrupt. What the hell? Why is your car over here why is your cop car at the meth dealer's house in town? Are you investigating out here? Why are these patrol vehicles? Why is this patrol vehicle seen out at the airport picking up packages? What are you doing? I'm not the only one who sees this in this town. Are you stupid enough not to get in your own personal vehicle or something, or some other vehicle, or rent a car or something, but you're going to go do this in patrol vehicles? No, they get away with it out here. Like I said, people, they run the town because the farmers tell them to shut up. They want those packages that they're getting from the airport. How do you think they work so hard? it's their business what they do, but they shouldn't be trying to crush everybody out here too, and make everybody live their lifestyle. And everybody comes out here is filthy rich, as everybody can just do everything overnight with a contractor. It costs a lot of money. There was only one contractor, Dale Shumway, out here, and he kind of ran the show forever out here. So that's how they did it. They kept it one small. They had one contractor, one weld company, and they made it so nobody could come out here. And they would crush you if you came out here. And I came out here and said, I'm going to crush you. You're not going to tell me how I can live. So they've had it out for me. I sat on the Chamber of Commerce, and from the beginning, I came out here and made it very clear that the town was going to grow up right around them, whether they liked it or not, because that's demographics, economics, and everything I told them too. It's come to pass now. I came out to this valley. The driveways were 5 miles apart out of town, 3 or 4 miles apart. Some places get, mile to two, and in town, 20 lots apart, 30 lots, every fifth lot seems like it's got a property on it. Every third lot up there in town now. They're smaller lots, but these are 20 and some tens and very few fives, but those are all, quarter and half, and some are one but it's just all grown up. And they said, nope, it's not going to happen. So it's good to see people have been able to come out here and live would be the American dream. And I know many people come out here and are never bothered by the cops at all because they just keep their head down. People love it out here. I think this is one of the best places to be in the U.S. If there was a place that I'd want to be. I was just, again, talking to Kevin about that. I don't think I want to be anywhere else right now. They're just not, you know, um, even if I came into some money, I'd probably just buy something up towards the wood line up there and stay right here. Not could even move out of the valley. So I like to see all these corrupt cops go and me stay. That'd be nice. All the corrupt cops, judges all lose their jobs, and this taste new cops come in and know, hey, we can't do what this last batch did, and we better take this very seriously. And they'd probably have to clean house from the top down. I don't think very many cops would be keeping their jobs in the current situation. I think they're all dirty out here, and so is all the government out here. They're all, I mean, we don't even have 911. We got new police officers. What the hell is that all about? Does that tell you how corrupt? Oh, we got more people to put you in jail, but we don't have a 911 service. You're going to lose your 911 service, but we got new county officers, deputies. Welcome to Lake County. So, all right, I better go. I keep saying that, but let me get off here for a little bit and just spend some time kind of thawing out here. And if you know anybody, again, wants to donate to the ministry, this would be a time. I only have one more day, basically, or 2 more days that I could probably take donations, and then I'm going to just have to take the precious metals to town and go turn them into paper currency. That's the last thing I ever would have imagined that would have happened with it. But hey, it always gets stolen. I better sell it before somebody steals it from me again, right? It'll be somebody I know, like both last time. So I better keep your friends close and your enemies closer, I guess, right? I don't know. But all right, much love, much agape. Appreciate all your time is so precious because we don't get more of it than this rock. We only get. What the hell are you? Y'all in the middle of the day. I'm a little, like I said, kind of woke up on the wrong side of the bed here with this whole having to put stuff up at half price takes it out of me. I know that sounds crazy, but listing something for half the market value is just it's hard to it's just disheartening because that makes the people that are selling their products worth less. What if they're struggling too? You know what I'm saying? So hey, if you know anybody wants to buy a 5-acre parcel out here, I've got it listed for 19.8. I just had somebody offer me a Tesla wall, 2 power inverters. You're talking 30, 40, maybe more, and so it's well worth it. And then $500. He said, I'd take like less than half of what I paid for this. I just don't have room for it. I can't set it up. He's in a big house. He's going somewhere else. He wants to come out here, get away from the big life. He wants to live the small life now. So it's a hell of an offer. I really wish you could have housed that for the ministry, man, and banked that too. But Father doesn't want any of this. So we'll start from scratch. We'll clean house here again. And I've had to do it before. Remember, I just had 40 pounds and silver and gold to go with it, taken from me 15 months ago. I didn't even have any left. So Father's blessed me with the ability to obtain, $15,000. I think I'm going to have actually about 13,000. I think I'm about too short. I think he'll listen to me and I'll figure it out. I'll get some outsold down here. So, um, Father will provide. He always does. And remember, I'm only trying to do this to help the ministry. This isn't for, because I'm not doing this for me, guys. I'm ready to go lay in the dirt and rest. I've lived a good life. But I'm not going to, I will endure the end. I'll never take my life. You have to endure the end to be saved. If you want to be with Father, if you want to be with Shiloh, you've got to go through this suffering, guys. You can't check out early. I know it's hard, man. All of us are really struggling right now. So I'm blessed, but I'm struggling at the same time. So, hey, it comes, Father, he's the master. He knows. He says, don't serve two. So I know he knows what he's doing. He says, I do all these things after my own counsel. So he knows when I do them for my own pleasure. So you got to let him beat you, even if it doesn't feel good, because pleasure is worse than the pain, brothers, sisters. It really is. You can enjoy life, but it's not supposed to be some cakewalk in the park, some easy life. That's not, Christ didn't live an easy life. They didn't like him. As a matter of fact, they jailed him and they whipped him. They striped him. I hope you're getting your stripes out there. You're supposed to be a soldier of God, militant, if you will. If he's your commander, can't serve two masters. So um, you'll be doing what he tells you. Don't worry about it like that. Be not anxious. Father is in control here. He's the author, the writer, again, the creator of all things. I do all these things after my own counsel, for my own pleasure. So if you know what the word salvation is, that's the Greek word sozo, S-O-Z-O, and you have to endure to the end. He says to be carried, picked up, lifted from beginning point to an ending point and healed. So all this pain will go away. He will heal your suffering. He will heal your pain. He will make all those wrongs right. He is the measure that will be poured out on everybody. Nobody's getting away with nothing, brothers and sisters. Isn't that so beautiful? So seriously, he is the just measure. So not even by a point off will he make sure that all of this is rectified. It will come to this resting place, if you will. Hados, that's what he said. That'll lead to that straight gate. But remember, we're all unequal. So nobody's supposed to be doing this. And if they do, Father will pour out that vengeance on them. I can't do it in this life, guys. We just can't. We want to because the flesh is weak, but nah. Let Father fight all your battles for you. So hopefully, again, I know that Father's blessed me with these precious metals, and they're just shiny dirt. I just know that these could obtain the Ecuador property in about 6 months. I think there's enough metal I have sitting there with the, 3.5 and the other tenth. So I think that could purchase that property in Ecuador in 6 months from now. So I got to give that dream up. I got to let it go. If Father wants that for me, then that will be Father's will, not of my own. But that's just an addition. Again, I'd love to bring this ministry down to South America. It's a little bit more of a challenge down there in South America, versus, I have to be completely honest with you. There's a lot of people who are Latino, and there's a lot of people who are Catholics down there, staunch Catholics. So I just thought it would be the most challenging place was to go where most people are, Roman Catholic, you know what I'm saying, and share the gospel with them, because Catholicism is Satanism, and there's ways that it could be spoken down there to them, with a little bit lighter tongue without candy coating it. And if they love the word, they'll understand it. So it's a challenge, and it helped me get my Spanish back into, I don't have very good Spanish anymore, and I used to be able to speak at least a decent street Spanish, could move around and operate within public, but it just didn't learn it as my first language. So it's not like a bike, you use or lose kind of deal. Uh, Well, it's not so much Hoosier, because remember, I don't want to make the money, but I have to get through the criminal case to get to the civil case. Either way, if I'm going to sue them, which I don't want to, Hoosier, I've tried for 15 months. Is that not patient? Have I not been patient? 15 months. I try to let the system, do what you're supposed to be, innocent until proven guilty. You know what I'm saying? Um, I'm trying to let the system, and I've got a missing son in a dead system. This should have been taken care of a long time ago. So, but if I don't get this criminal case, guys, today's the 16th. This is the day of my trial, guys. You heard me. If I didn't tell that judge, no, you're going to do whatever you want. The court's going to do whatever they want. But if you take me to trial, this is going to be a mistrial. I have the right of appeal to begin with, and I guarantee you didn't provide any counsel for me, and you didn't provide me with adequate counsel, and you criminally violated my right to be secure in my house's papers and effects by calling the state police out here and not properly executing the search warrant by hitting me. Unbeknown to me, before they hit me, they woke up my daughter without warrant. They didn't have a arrest warrant for her and grenaded her. That shows intent right out the gate. That's excessive force. That's a Fourth Amendment civil rights violation. That's a right of, that's called cruel and unusual punishment. That is a kidnapping charge. They kidnapped my daughter, and Lake County was the one who's liable. So it's not just the state of Oregon, because they're the one who accosted her body and then turned her back over to the county. So both counties are liable for a kidnap, an assault, battery, excessive force. Okay, but that's a criminal too. That's what I need to speak with this attorney. If not, then maybe this isn't the attorney for me. But unless this attorney is willing to push criminal charges against the state of Oregon, against Lake County Sheriff's Office, and potentially the federal government for not getting involved in this case when they were notified, I have to get through the criminal case. You know what I'm saying? I have to get through the criminal case. I don't want to. I tried not. Why am I spending money? I spent it on the ministry instead of spending it on me. See what I did? You'll know them by their fruit. And I didn't do it for your gain. I did it for the ministry so the ministry can gain after I'm dead. Gone. Long gone. It's conserved for generations. So instead of helping myself, that's my biggest problem in life. I have charges because I'm going to face the rest 20 years. I don't know how many more years I'll make it or whatever. I'll try as long as I can. But, you know, anything could happen in prison. You know, people don't like people like me in prison. So I believe when you locked up, you're only their friend and their Jesus. Just like him, destined to die at the hands of my enemies. I'm in drop tops like John F. Kennedy. You can catch me at the red light. All right. So, but anyways, I know that I have a lawsuit because they violated my right to be secure in my house's papers, persons, and effects. They violated my right of cruel and unusual punishment. They have actually stripped me of every right to even be able to protect my animals. Remember, I don't have a Second Amendment like you. Men could come here and have watched what I've done online and say, give me that gold, motherfucker, it's mine now. And I'd have to just give it to them. That's pretty shitty, huh? And I wouldn't be getting in no stupid gunfight with somebody over some shiny dirt, but I can't even protect my animals right now. The cops can come here and just shoot this place to him, throw a weapon in here and say, you know, he shot at us. They're going to do whatever they want here. And I guarantee you, I'm so blessed to see the miracle that Father provided for me the other day by being able to tell that judge, you're going to do whatever you want, Judge, but if you take me to trial, it's going to be a mistrial. And Father made, you know, Paul Chares, the guy that this guy didn't even know, say, no, I think if I take this to trial, well, the whole idea is to try it once, and I'm going to have to try it multiple, not twice, but multiple, because he could obviously see the violations in the case. Hopefully he's maybe looked at it. I'd hope he'd be a little smarter than to not open this case. And see, I don't know if he has the live stream. These people are idiots. I know he's got all the body cam footage, but has he ever truly looked at me on this inside of this live stream, which they have too? They had access to the live stream, which they said makes them criminally liable for what I was doing in here. They were watching what I was doing in here. They know I was putting on a jacket. They knew I wasn't reaching for any weapons. And remember when they finally later, all that time came for the weapons cache, there was only the two that I ever said that I had that I never even fired once. Never once. I don't think you would never even find my finger on the trigger, in my fingerprint on the trigger of any of those, because I never even fired them. They were farm weapons. They were here to protect the animals, you know, intruders, if you will, right? Now I got to go wrestle a mountain lion or a cougar. If they start eating my dog, I've got to go at the cat with these, try to get him, grab him, choke him out or something. I don't know, poke his eye out. I don't know. I'm not going to let him eat my animals. So man dies protecting his dog from cougar. You'll know why, because they took my Second Amendment away from me, and that's a God-given organic right that should not be able to be taken from me. And they did it anyways because they targeted me because I told Josh Bezel that he was harassing people in this town by going on their property without warrant and going inside their house, and he turns around and files retaliatory charges and targeting charges against me. So but it's okay. So we'll see if John will file criminal charges against the state of Oregon and what it's going to take to go to trial. So I don't think this is just the tip of the iceberg here, brothers and sisters, of this battle that I'm about to encompass here is going to be a rather large. I don't think they're going to go down easily. They have millions of hundreds of millions of dollars that they're liable in lawsuit, and it doesn't make them even. But I've spoken. Even if they convicted me, doesn't mean that they still didn't assault me. Didn't mean that they didn't try to kill me. I want somebody to look at this case in full detail and tell me, do you believe this is an attempted murder case? I think this is easily attempted murder. I think they came in here and could have easily killed me that day with that grenade, could have hemorrhaged my brain out and swole up, and I should have been actually at least taken to the emergency room before I was ever taken to the county jail, as well as I didn't know they had done that to my daughter. So anybody who looks at this case to see that they grenaded my daughter without warrant and my son to wake them up from a dead sleep is not how you execute a warrant. That's not how you execute a warrant. People, how about a negotiation? How about de-escalation? How about some kind of conversation? Because that's all you were at. You heard me saying to them, conversate with me, guys. Somebody say Elijah's 180 hours out there. I want to hear one of you say it, because nobody said it for years. Nobody will talk to me about these 180 hours plus the 133 that he did after that he did the 130 or the 180. And I do believe he did more than that to begin with. And I know you made him do more, because I actually have record of Christian Brunsman saying in 2023 he only had 30 hours to go. And he did more than 100 since then. So you just kept making him, keep him like a fucking debt slave. And I apologize, but that's what he was. He was a slave to probation. And I know there's others who do this. So I am hoping this case just don't get settled, guys. This case needs to go national news. This case would expose so much corruption within the probation, parole. Why was Tony Karsten, a rapist, allowed to run around and my son was in jail for a whole year? Nearly a whole year my son sat, and the rapist ran free, never convicted, and all the one minor child and teenagers received convictions, but the rapist still to this day has never been convicted and was there at the scene. I came to the sheriff's office, I came to the courts and said, look, here's the discovery from John Caligo saying Tony Karsten's here. They're going in the top, in that they've been going in these buildings and living in these little vacant, trailers that are left out here for years, because people come out here and try to make it. It freezes every month, at least one day a year. Hot days and cool nights. People aren't used to that, thinking it's some kind of 300 days of tropical paradise. This is a desert, for Christ's sake. We're at the top of the rim of the Great Basin. Okay, it's not a temperate climate out here. It's not that bad, and it has been very mild. But you know what I'm saying? This is not a place. So they were going in there, and so this rapist is sitting there watching these kids going in there, and so that makes him an accomplice. So I immediately contacted the courts and said, arrest this man, revoke his parole, and send him back to fucking Texas. We don't need him in Oregon anymore. You can't keep track of him. I already came out and told you you're not keeping track of where he's moving, and that's illegal. Remember, all pedophiles, rapists, and murderers, when you parole, you have to check in. You want to know where these people are at within your community, especially pedophiles. Well, this guy, or rapists. Yeah. And I'd already brought it to the county's attention. So they'll even cover for rapists, kind of like the current administration is covering for all these pedos. So don't act like it don't happen. They're doing it at the frickin' president level right now. Oh, it doesn't happen. Whatever. Look at what Warp Speed's doing, covering for his buddy Joe, and all of them. Oh, it didn't happen. These people just cover for themselves, brothers, sisters. That's what they do. It's what they do. They're all part of the same team. Cheeks to the same hole. It don't matter. Remember cherries and blueberries, red and blue behind you in the rear view mirror? I know he ain't from around here. So they'll give you a ticket because you won't fight it. Come from a long way, huh? So you know what my definition of law enforcement in 2025 is? Is anybody, what's your definition of law enforcement? The State of the Union, these pigs that are out there on the streets today extorting and harassing the general public, all wearing the same color, extorting them for money. What's the State of the Union? What would you call it? What's the State of the Union? Is law enforcement. If you had to put law enforcement in a nutshell, and a snappy little jingle or a line or one or two or three or five, what would you say? How would you classify these clowns out there rolling around in these fake, you know, uh, fake suits? These clown cops, extortionists, road raiders, road pirates. Oops, I'm giving away some of the clues. Somebody was like, well, I was going to use that, huh? Or you're just a pig licker, a jackboot thug licker. Blue line gangsters. Okay, yeah, thin blue line, right? So, so appreciate it. You don't have to like them. They're supposed to be doing their job, and you can tell them that. That's not against the law to tell a cop that he's a tyrant. He's a pig. And he needs to do his job, him or her, properly. He's a community servant and stop acting like a tyrant. Why aren't you returning this to a constitutional republic? Because you're a pig and you work for the corporation. That's why. So they go around and harass and extort the general public. Like I said, you never heard a song called Fuck the Firefighter, have you? No, because a firefighter runs into that building of yours or house or save your wife or your cat or your dog or car or gerbil, for Christ's sake. If they maybe, and give their life in the line of duty. That's not what cops are. They're tyrants. All they care about is officer safety. Two stupidest words ever invented. Find another job, pig. So my definition of cops I know firefighters are saviors, EMS workers, first responders, but cops are pigs. They're extortionists. There's a guaranteed of 80% occupancy in private prisons in America before they're even built. Who do you think fills them? It's all these clown pigs out there operating in commerce, putting you in under your stock number, your merchant number, imprisoning you by debt, and they get paid, and you're paying them to be enslaved out of your stock number or bond or treasury. It's called a merchant number. It's all maritime law. Under this birth canal, you were birthed through your mother's canal and through the water into amniotic fluid, and you came out into the porthole out of the birth, like they dock to the dock, and the doctor signed your yes, and you gave this over. Come on, guys. This is as you put your currency on, two sides of the bank, right? All right, whatever. Two cheeks to the same hole, two wings to the same dragon. First responders, EMS, firefighters, they give their life. Cops, all they care about is saving their life. All they're caring about is officer safety. So, never heard a song called The Firefighter, huh? Seriously. If they were operating as a community, I'm a veteran. I'm willing to give my life. I've already shown that. I could spend the rest of my life in prison for this country, standing up for your constitutional right. I might never be heard. At least I'll be heard. I may never find out if my son's dead or gone. I don't know. At least I died trying. Find out if my daughter's been raped, kidnapped, missing, murdered. At least I died trying. I did have to report this to these tyrants, but somebody's got to do something about it because they are not allowing me to even have contact with my potentially dead son. Remember when I said, I think he's here and he's dead, or my daughter's been raped, and here I'm reporting this, and here's the motive, and here's a felony right here, there's a passport, and there's 40 pounds of my silver, and there's gold, and there's all the motive. They said, and they threatened to put me in jail. Throw me in jail. Because I'm reporting, just like I got threatened to be thrown in jail by a judge the other day in the same county, reported my son dead or murdered. He threatened me to throw me in jail, told me I was speaking gibberish. Or it was nutty. And I said, it's nutty to say that my son or daughter could be murdered. He said, don't talk. I'm going to throw you in jail. I'm going to come to where you're at right now, and I'm going to throw you in jail. gaslighting me, harassing me, menacing me, and intimidating me. A judge in a county that's 4 hours away that I've reported the murder, and he didn't even stop the case. No, I'm not, Carl. I've already reported that. I am not here. No, 100%. No, 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 no. I'm already telling you that way. If something happens, you know that they did it. I didn't take my life. They could come out here any moment. Every night, I'm on edge, and I don't like living like that. And I know my son has to look over his shoulder every day too, so I guess I feel just like my son, huh? And my daughter, she got to look over her shoulder. She's innocent. They already dropped her charges, and now she's missing too. What the hell? Would please somebody help me locate her? Somebody? Maybe she's not with my son. Maybe I don't know. There's nobody can help me with this. Remember, I said she's there. Her car's there. Why didn't they go look? I said she could be raped. There's the, here's the way that I said, hey, Marshall, I'm going to talk to my daughter one day. This case was not going to go on forever. And you said you had the silver the whole time, and now you saying she has it is the motive that I believe that he kidnapped my daughter because he'd already spent that silver. And he was fucked in the gold, and he never even, because I remember talking to him one time. He wouldn't talk to me and say, oh, man, I'm in a really bad financial. Dude, I thought you were mining gold, man, and you had plenty of money. You said you can bring my son and daughter there, and they could stay there and run from the law, and they could mine $300 a day. I think that was a big front to get them down there. I think he's a Fed, and I think he's working for the Feds. Marshall is his name. He changes it. John, Finn. It's not even the same name now. He doesn't even have the same appearance. He had long hair. Now he's got a shaved head. None of his stories add up either. Isn't that crazy, though, Hoosier? I've reported this to the Department of Justice. I have reported this to the government. I have. So none of this would ever happen if they would have done something about this a while ago. So, it may be. I don't know, but it seemed, how did this guy know my son before I ever knew him? And I met him because he bought candy from me. So he could have snuck right in my door and not even known, you know what I'm saying, like that, and befriended me. And, hey, I'm a veteran, and he was playing me for a fiddle. Devil went down to Georgia. He's looking for a soul to steal. I was blinded. I don't know what was wrong with me, but he's the one who led me to that Tony was. See, he led me to certain things too. He's the one that led me to the fact that Tony was a rapist. Not a rapist, but that was something was I think he'd mentioned it at first. I'm like, dude, he's not. And he's like, dude, look it up. Why are you letting your son hanging around him? Actually, he told Elijah he didn't want him hanging around him. Something's weird, guys. Like I said, how that guy knew, this guy supposedly, his caretaker, Marshall, killed himself. And I don't know what's going on with that either. And that guy's supposedly a veteran. And Elijah knew him too. You know what I'm saying? And not long. They just met, I believe, within a month or something, a couple weeks. But how did he know my son before he knew me? And I never met the guy who killed himself inside the cabin out here at the property that he was supposedly caretaking for. That was a veteran. But somehow my son knew him and him before I ever met him. How? How did he meet him? It's one thing to meet me because I'm selling candy online. That's how he can get it. But how did he meet my son? It's all been documented. Everything's been documented. It's all been live streamed, documented, written down. It's all, I'm a prior law enforcement, so I can triplicate things normally. So I don't know. You know what I'm saying? It's just unbelievable how much proof I have of my son's motive, disappearance, Marshall. Remember, I reported this, guys, and then because they wouldn't do anything, I caught charges. I went down there months later because at month 12, I couldn't just sit there. I go, it's been a whole year since this has happened, and I know my son's here. Fuck it. If he's there, I won't break this fucking no contact order. I don't give a shit. I want to know if he's dead or alive. Fuck it. I don't have to contact him, but at least I'll know he's alive. I don't even have to say anything, just to see his body, and everything's gone now. And this is a big, big, big house with there's 3 houses on 4 houses on that property. It's a big, big operation. And I believe that operation is fronting the gold mines that are being illegally strip mined up on that hill. because that's the only one that has a road going up for all of those properties. That took a massive amount of mining or logging equipment to get that thing all the way over to the other highway. It's got the ability to dump from that road out from the mines out to the road and out to right back on the highway. You guys, I stumbled into something bigger and I know it. I stumbled into something much bigger and I know it. And I think it involves my son. I think my son somehow has gotten lured into this, whether he was assaulted by, because he was, and by the police, and he suffered a concussion. He's not thinking straight. Is that how he is able to lure my daughter down there? Because they both had, I don't know how they're getting by. I know I haven't been to the doctor for 15 months and my head still hurts to this day. 15 months later, your head still hurts, Tracy? Yeah. Try taking a grenade to the face and see how that doesn't rattle your cage. Look at what it did. It literally blew my head back. How did it not blow my eardrum out completely? How do I even hear out of that ear? You don't hit somebody in the face with a grenade. Remember, that's how they woke my daughter up and my son. I'm pretty sure you're going to see the body cam if they had it on. And they might not. I don't think there'll be any body cam footage, guys. I'd almost willing be ventured that there'll be no body cam footage from those cops. There was 25 of them or something with the state police. Not one of them will probably have body cam footage. So I am so blessed that I was able to live stream it. Remember, because I live stream at 45 seconds, they hit me in the face with a grenade. You never heard another grenade. That means that grenade that was already lit off, that's what woke me from my sleep after 15 minutes of being, asleep. Half an hour in bed, I was zonked. They're wearing me out. And so where, do you think that these people would be able to produce any body cam footage, in a trial? So, guys, I don't even know. Like I said, I don't even know what John's going to do, what his plan is, or how any of this is going to work. But I know at this point in time, I don't want him to take the case if he's not willing to pursue criminal charges against the state of Oregon and the Lake County Sheriff's Office. Absolutely. And I want Michael Taylor being held accountable, Judge Vanderberg being held accountable, Ted Martin being held accountable, because this all could have been avoided. All these people, there were hundreds of phone calls that were made to Ted Martin's office. Remember, for 258 hours, for 17 days straight, I live streamed for them not to do this and showing them all the physical evidence, showing all the calls, but just hammering this one after the other. And then having you guys, because this was, 15 months ago, some of you guys, this channel's years old, calling in. There were little subscribers. YouTube is the evidence. It says YouTube caller. It's called, anonymous caller said if backed into a corner, he would strike. Because I was explaining to you that you have the Fourth Amendment right to protect yourself. I did that, the word or gay. Remember, I was already doing that lesson about we can't seek vengeance. If they come and you have under Title 18 the right to deem force necessary if you think someone's going to cause harm to your person's papers or effects or houses, or you can deem under Title 18. And that's how they came back out here. Because I said, if you come back out here and hurt my dogs, I have no other way than to protect you. I will fucking kill you. I think I said I did, because I said I don't have any other choice. You've already assaulted me. That's not a threat. I have that right to deem that force necessary. So that's when they said he's threatening to kill law enforcement officers. I said, no, you've already hurt me. If I leave this property, I'm not going to even be armed. But if you come here again, because you've already assaulted me, you tear gas my dog's been hurt, you fucked me up, you hit me in the face with a grenade, I can't just let you come do this to me again. You come back here, I don't think I said I'll kill you. I said I will protect myself. And if I did, I have that right to deem that force necessary. That's not a threat to life. I have under Title 18, the original Title 18 statutes, the right to say, hey, I will protect myself. I have that right. They'd already assaulted me. Remember, I never said that for the first 17 days. I said, I'm not using guns. I have a couple of them here. This is a stand up, not a stand off. I'm using my mouth, not weapons. And I made that very clear. And any jury that looked through the 17 days would go, okay, yeah, he's made it very clear. don't bring guns out here. He's not using guns. He's trying to use his legal right, not of the Second Amendment, but his First, Fourth Amendment. He knows his rights. He's asserting them. He has the right of, to protect himself under affirmative defense, self-defense. He has the right to protect himself from legal prosecution. That's under his Fourth Amendment. Under Title 18, allows him to deem the force necessary. So when they came out here the first time, there was no threat to their life. That's why they're going to go to prison, brothers and sisters. They can't justify me saying I would protect my house. And the only other evidence that they have against me, I have their evidence. They only have two statements from me where they think they can get me. The other one was, it says that I would fight to the death to keep my son from going to prison. And I told them that means, and I'm doing it right now, guys. It's been 15 months and I'm still fighting. Nothing's been done, but I'm still fighting it. And so I've kept my word. And I said, not with guns. I'm not talking about using guns. They brought the guns. They assaulted me. They brought the military vehicles, the armored vehicles out here. They brought the 25 guys and the county tailing him. And they're the ones who assaulted my daughter. They went hot, fast, immediately. They came out here and immediately shot my son and daughter, or grenaded them both with a concussion grenade. That is excessive force right at it. Shows the intent right out the gate. And then, I'm like, what the hell was, I'm trying to remember, like, what was that noise? You can hear me. I get up, they're here. I believed I'd heard something. I couldn't remember. I'm startled. I'm a little tired. I've only been sleeping for 15 minutes. I've been streaming some hours for, 10 hours a day, producing content. And I wake up and I put my coat on. I'm only in my boxers. I don't sleep in the nude. I got boxers on, boxer shorts. I put my coat on and I go to the board. I'm like, you guys, the state police are here. I thought that I heard that, but I don't know if I heard that or looked out the window, because I thought what I saw was a Bearcat. You could see that I could see that the bar or whatever. I know what they look like when they're, like I said, I don't remember that because, like I said, it was startling. And it was so, but you see, because of my military mindset, I'm like, what about the hours, guys? I'm talking. So I'm not talking to them. They're not saying anything. They have said nothing. Now, I didn't know that they already had gassed or concussion grenaded my son and daughter. And I think that maybe thought that I was still awake or that I had just fallen asleep, because I know they said they were tracking my phone. They had drones over the house. They excessively wasted so much taxpayers' money on this SWAT raid. It's an abomination what was done out here. But I know that they did say that they were watching my live stream. It said that when I went live, that this was tracked by when Predestined for Light off. That's the former channel name. We just High Desert Faith and Truth, but it's still the same channel. But anyways, when I go live, they're monitoring it. This channel is being monitored right now by law enforcement by their discovery. That means they're pulling IP addresses. They're keeping track of all this, because I don't think this is a small case. Not for enough to bring. They went down to the local restaurant and all met up and had big steak dinners and all got celebrated to come out here to this constitutionalist that had been pointing out all the dirty cops in town, and they were going to shut this down. They had enough. They'd heard enough. They didn't like me protesting the COVID. They didn't like me protesting the sheriff's office. They didn't like me protesting Kate Brown. They didn't like me protesting Donald Trump. They didn't like me. But no, I did. I held all these things. I held protest against this county and the sheriff's office, against the state and the government, what they were doing during COVID. We literally had prayer, and we had city council out there. It was very organized, and we had a very good calling out here to try to protect our businesses during the COVID. So there was a couple other people here that rallied with me, and we were able to make a lot of things happen really quick out here to try to protect our businesses. Not the first time they flattened the curve, but the second time, you know what I'm saying? And so I protest. They don't like me because of that. This is the same time that my son got in trouble too, brother, sister. So this all is related. That's why none of this is just some light case. The biggest mistake that they made was not getting this case done a long time ago, because every day that they have made me suffer, I will be suing the federal government, the state, and the county. I also make sure that Michael Taylor, and Ted Martin are pulled from their civilian and being brought up on a criminal case charges on this. I think they're criminally liable as well as civilly have lawsuits against them for trampling on my rights. Ted Martin's the one who signed the SWAT warrant. He needs to be brought back up in this case. I don't care about this Paul Charez monkey. Okay, whatever. He's a clown is what he is. He's a member of the Maritime Jamboree. You know, like he's a tokenized. He's a animatronic. He's nothing. He's nothing. At least Father spoke to him and told him to tell that, Pat Woolke that, hey, listen here, we try this case once, we're going to have to try it multiple times. He knew it would be a mistrial. So I was that close. Today was the day, guys. You'd never seen me again. This could have been the end of High Desert Faith and Truth Ministries. And I'm still here, brothers and sisters. And I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? That's a blessing. So I got to use this time, wisely and do what I got to do. So I got to come up with 15 grand by Friday, guys. Tomorrow I have another meeting with the attorney. So it's going to cost me more money because that's additional, to what I'm doing here. So hopefully soon that Father will take care of this. But I know there are so many constitutional violations of my civil rights, and they criminally attacked me, my daughter, and my son, and they targeted me. And they brought out all their big, like I said, they met there up at the local restaurant and had big steak dinners and said how they're going to shut this loudmouth constitutional up out here. And it didn't work out like they wanted. And I'm thankful for that, like the other day, because today is the day of my trial. That the attorney forgot to quit months ago, May 1st. I have him quitting on paper May 1st. And that judge was going to send me right into this with this attorney who has done nothing for my case. And he didn't do it. And then he says, oh, well, I want you to try your best. He hasn't done anything in 3 months, but 6 days. He only picked up the case in March. He basically quit at the end of April, the 1st of May. So he only had the case for a month. So he didn't have any time to get the case prepared. He quit I have it on paper, on text message. He forgot to call the courts for my trial, right? He forgot to call the courts and to call in to quit. And then when he didn't show up to my trial, he forgot to even call in. And then when they called him, he said, oh, I forgot to call in. And I forgot to call in to say that I had quit, because he wouldn't, he said it was an attorney because I was not happy that he wouldn't go find my dead daughter. He didn't contact the feds. See, how is this state not liable, guys, right now in the county when I contacted Paul Palmer and said my daughter and my son could be missing, dead, murdered, robbed. Here's some potential, gold mines. Here's all the motive. Here's gold, silver, passport. Here's her car was there. Here's all the motive. And they didn't go do anything. That holds them. That's a whole county. That's a whole lawsuit against Josephine County. That's a whole lawsuit against Paul Palmer. Why didn't Paul Palmer, when he called Josephine County and said, you can't tell my client, I'm calling to get the client's, this recording, the transcripts or your CAD call in of the call. I need this transcript of the call. Or, I need a recording, and they refuse to give it to him. So how would legal counsel be refused to be given the evidence that says that they told me that I was using law enforcement by trying to have a welfare check done on my son and daughter's well-being, potentially raped, motive with a federal passport? That's a federal offense. He should have contacted the feds anyways. You know what I'm saying? They should have contacted the feds anyways. He should have contacted the feds. He should have said, hey, I'm appointed counsel for, Tracy Werner. He's, in Lake County, and he's calling. He said his son and daughter were potentially murdered by this man. There's silver there. There's gold there. His passport's there. I called Josephine County Sheriff's Office and tried to get the transcripts from this CAD call, and they will not give me any of this call. He should have went over and called the feds and say, hey, look, I'm not getting any cooperation, but there's a federal This is a federal offense. I'm his counsel, and he has his passport. That's illegal. I can't get the county's cooperation, and I got to go over the state here because the state's involved in this case. I need you guys to come in here. Whether I don't care if it was the FBI or the DOJ, somebody should have went to Josephine County. So why is a Josephine County trying to rule on my case on the 10th? Why did Judge Vandenberg say, I'm going to go ahead and just continue the case? Because he knew he was going to bring in that judge from Josephine County to try to steamroll me, guys. I'm telling you, it's not going to be that hard to tell. I like I said, even if this case doesn't get done at this level, guys, it should be quite blatantly obvious what they tried to do to me here. And I had asked them since the beginning to put in a change of venue because I didn't feel like they were giving me a fair trial at all, in any way, shape, or form, or they're even allowing any of this. They were just trying to run me as long out as they could and get me to take a deal or fuck up and get some more charges so they can lock me back up. So I don't understand how this attorney could not, it doesn't matter if he's appointed counsel or not, that he still has the legal obligation to contact. So this is why he told this attorney that there's an attorney-client privilege breakdown, because I asked this guy to get involved and he wouldn't. Then I asked him to get involved when the cops are over here running and destroying my private property out at the road on my, marker pole out there. They're running it over with their cop cars, and I can't get the attorney to do anything about that. So he's never done anything. I reported my son dead and murdered. My daughter raped, potentially murdered, and motive. And he never pursued anything after that. He just turned it off and never, well, I couldn't get anything, so I'm sorry. What? Go over their head, for Christ's sake. I reported a murder. You don't just shut the fuck up about that. So I got to take this precious metals that I got, guys, and give it to this attorney. And if it gets me somewhere, it's probably just the beginning. I'm sure if he has to take this to trial, this could cost me hundreds of thousands of dollars if they did the trial properly. So, but once again, I don't think it'll go to trial. I see no reason for it to go to trial. There was a criminal act of assault and attempted murder. You don't hit somebody in the face with a grenade. If this attorney doesn't agree with that, then I'm going to go figure out and find a different attorney, guys. Okay. And I've used him because I know this is Elijah's attorney. I like I said, he's been used in this case. He's familiar. He's expensive. It took an attorney like this to get Elijah out from underneath these people's grasp. And they still charged him with like 7 felonies, right? That's why he's facing a 7-year prison sentence for a bunch of shit that he didn't even do. He just took charges and wanted out of jail. He'd been in jail for almost a year. Nobody else was in jail. Imagine going 5 people all involved and you don't serve any time with the people you did you did the same crime with. That's pretty fucked up, don't you think? Did you hear that? You go to jail, you'd expect to see the people. You might not serve with them because they're on your case, but you're going to see them in there. And none of them ever go to jail. You're the only one to go to jail. This county is so corrupt, brothers and sisters. So I've got to do this for my son. I've got to do it for the people of this county. I've got to do it for the state. I mean, the people in this state are very vulnerable to this SWAT team. I can't imagine. It's been 15 months. How many other times that this rogue thug of state troopers, 20 plus of these guys, come out and just SWAT raid somebody like me, and they don't get it on live stream, and there is no body cam footage. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, but this lawsuit, Hoosier, is separate. I have to go through the criminal case first. The criminal case is separate from the lawsuit. The lawsuit's civil. Even though there's criminal action, that's still a civil lawsuit. I want to place a criminal lawsuit, but he's a criminal attorney that does criminal law, not criminal lawsuits. He does criminal law, So I will probably have to file a civil lawsuit placing criminal liability on these officers. And that's what will give me the ability also to put some blame, because a lot of them don't want to prosecute themselves. I've already looked into this. I got to get through this criminal case. And then I can pursue the civil side of the lawsuit. Whether it's criminal lawsuit or civil, it's still under that civil. And by placing them civilly liable under civil lawsuit for their criminal behavior, it actually puts blame on them. So actually at that time, not only could I, and I will now, I won't, if they, like I said, there's ways that I know that it can be done, and I'm not worried about giving my cards up, because I've already explained this in detail. Once I find them in a civil lawsuit criminally liable, I can sue their bond. Now everyone that's in this case, that's involved in this case, I can sue. What is that? Sound like an airplane or something? So I think, again, what I'll be able to do at that point in time is I'll be able to file the civil lawsuit, and that will find them criminally liable, and then I sue their bond. Each one of these law enforcement officers has $1 million to $2 million bond. The judges, I'm sure they're bonded for, I should look it up, but I bet you they're 10, 15, 20, 30, $50 million bond for a judge. So I sue their bond. I go out and take that bond from them, and then they lose their job because they can't operate. This is how a lot of people continue in law enforcement. They screw up, nobody sues their bond, they get a promotion and they move up, or they just move to a different agency. You have to sue their bond. Like a contractor, if he keeps going out and screwing people's houses up, that you go and you sue his bond. If he does it too much, then he can't work in construction. See, I'm not trying to take Judge Vandenberger's livelihood from him. I'm sure he's got bills and a house and a wife, and I'd hate to see anybody around him affected, even though he's a tyrant, a criminal, and I think he's a pure, absolute evil man. I seek no vengeance. So I'm going to go after his $50 million bond if that's the case, and have my son and my daughter, and then he can't be a judge anymore. He can go pick weeds, or because they're kicking all these immigrants out of here, I'm sure there's a ton of landscape companies that would hire him really quick. He can go edge, mow, and blow. Okay. But I'm not trying to take his livelihood. See, Ted Martin, I'm not. Go flip some burgers. I'm sure the the King Dairy Queen, or whatever, the Burger Queen in Lakeview is hiring. You can flip some burgers, Ted Martin. You always like those fancy suits. Maybe they'll let you one of those fancy suits to work. See, I'm not trying to take these men's livelihood. I seek no vengeance after these men, but I don't want them to operate in a capacity of judgment in the case of the judge, or community servant in the case of these public servants who are supposed to be serving the public. Instead, this sucks because I'm going to have to take the public's money, by taxpayer money, from the people for the criminal actions and civil actions of their public servants. That's what sucks. That's why I've avoided a lawsuit all these times, because you are the taxpayer in that county, pay for the civil and criminal actions of your public and officials, servants, law enforcement, judges. It don't matter. You, the public, pay for that. That's crappy, guys. That's crappy. That's why I try to tell them, if you guys had just dropped the case, I won't even sue you. I'll leave it alone. I'll go to Ecuador. I'll get my passport. I'll I'm still going to speak up, but I'll go away. I'll get out of here. I'll get out of here. They even said, hey, we'll make you a sweetheart deal, which I'm not taking a deal. If you move out of town, if you leave town, we'll make you a deal, which shows their intent. They just tried to eliminate me. I think that shows too with Ted Martin, the fact that all they wanted me to do is shut up about their criminal behavior that's been going on out here. So that is where this case is going to go. So I want to place criminal lawsuit against the state of Oregon and Lake County, and I want to place the Well, vengeance is trying to take somebody's livelihood. Vengeance is going back, and since they hit me in the face, going eye for an eye, going and grenading and kidnapping their daughter and placing them and their son in a motorhome, and then throwing a grenade inside their son and daughter's face, or hitting them in the face. That would be vengeance, right? Make them take a eye for an eye. Vengeance. Go seek vengeance, right? Go kidnap their kids for months and not let them know where they're at, and keep fucking with them and extorting them, and hire the police to go out there and run over their property, and not have anybody to call. Do the same thing. That's vengeance. You're trying to get back at them. This judge did horrible things to me, you know, and Ted Martin. And I'm not planning any kind of midnight attack. I don't care. I let Father fight all my battles for me. So vengeance is going and when somebody gets you fired at work, that you don't realize maybe Father wanted you to get fired. It doesn't mean you can't try to save your job and go, but you don't go after that person. You let Father fight your battles. So I hope I've been an example of how you don't seek vengeance in this case. Like, remember, I could have killed those 2 state troopers that came on my property. They were on the property. They were harassing me, menacing me. I knew they had guns. I knew they could be a threat. And if I would have eliminated them, it would have dropped the whole case right there. Remember, those 2 state troopers drove on my property, not on the easement road. They were too stupid to drive onto my property. I had the right to secure my house papers, persons affected under Title 18. I could have claimed I'm using my Fourth Amendment. I didn't feel secure. I knew they were armed. I told them, I have my daughter in here. You're harassing, you know. Whoa, what did I just lose? Well, that thing just did some weird stuff there. But I didn't. I wasn't armed. Instead, remember, I had my phone up like to my face, and the actual phone live stream going, you guys are, my daughter is scared. You're going to throw her husband in prison. You guys are literally freaking the hell out of her. She's stuck here in the middle of this. I told her she can't go. She's going to be with her husband. And if you're going to throw him in prison, she's going to sleep next to him until he goes. Stop harassing. You're menacing. And I would have killed those state troopers that day. This case wouldn't have gone nowhere. I would have been justified. They would have dropped the fucking case. Guarantee it, because I would have been justified under Title 18. 2 dead state troopers I could have killed. And I chose not to use vengeance. I choose not to go after them. They were already scaring the living piss out of me, and I knew they were going to eventually bring guns out here. And they did. And they came, and look what they did to me. Look what those state troopers did. They brought 10 times the guys, 20 plus guys out here, and every one of them had guns. And I pleaded them, do not come out here with guns. We can settle this without any guns. We could settle this with communicating. Come to my gate, call me, somebody, anybody. And I even had one of the local members said, man, you had a chip on your shoulder. You're just mad because that guy gave you guys a hard time, protesting you during the COVID, and you got a chip on your shoulder, and you didn't need to do that. I know you have him. If you try to get rid of him, I know you got him in there. And you know what? If you wanted his son so fucking bad, you could have just went to his gate. He might have barked and screamed at you, called you a pig and a tyrant, but if you would have mentioned the 180 hours, he would have given you his son. But you guys didn't want to listen to anything. You have a fucking chip on your shoulders, and you're just pissed off because he's a boisterous veteran. And so I'm glad that there was, some people in this community that called these, disc attorney and said, look, I know you have him. Don't think you can just unalive him. And what you just did was excessive force. That was totally unnecessary. You wanted his son so fucking bad, you could have went to his gate and talked to the man. That's what all he wanted, was you to communicate with him. He's kept telling you. Kept telling the whole fucking world. He had everybody live streaming from all, live stream to the whole world. And he had people calling from all over the U.S., which they'd have to summons all these people too, that, hey, this guy tried to avoid guns and tried to avoid this. And all he ever wanted was somebody to talk to him about his son's 180 hours. And guess what? Still to this day, nobody's ever talked about the 180 hours, brothers and sisters. Even I said it on the SWAT raid. Elijah asked about his hours, and 15 months later, I've never had anybody once call me, hey, this is the Department of Justice. We realize we're asses in a sling. We looked into this. We pinged his phone. We called all these witnesses. We did a side investigation, and we're fucked because he did the 133 hours after he already did the 180, and we know that we owe you a lot of money. So what do you want us to do here? We're at your disposal. Well, can we settle this? You wanted your passport. We'll give you your passport. We'll make sure you get your passport immediately. We'll have a passport printed back up for you. It'll be in the, overnight. Where do you want to go? Ecuador? Okay, we'll let you go. We'll just please don't do it. No, they didn't do shit. They never got involved. Nothing. And I already remember called these people at the top. Just when they didn't go look for my dead son and daughter, potentially murdered, kidnapped, raped my daughter, and 40 pounds of silver in my federal passport is illegal. It's a federal passport. That means that's a federal crime. The Fed should have been called. So their ass is in a sling too. Yeah, they can knock on the door. That's what they're supposed to do. They're supposed to knock on the door and announce themselves and show me the warrant. So that's what they didn't do. As a matter of fact, they never even made that attempt even once, which shows the intent to come grenade my daughter and my son, shows the intent with the malicious intent to come out here and cause harm to my persons, papers, houses, and effects, which everything was done. I'm still suffering to this day, guys. I'm literally having to take my Ecuador money, my retirement, if that's ever going to be a part of that, to be able to be down there and just squash it all now, because I have to pay a criminal attorney when they appointed two counsel and they couldn't even do anything. So I finally have to say, okay, well, whatever, you guys destroyed all my stuff, I still have windows shot out in this cabin that I haven't been able to find replacement windows for. I even had the motivation to do it, to be honest with you. On this portion, I've been doing other things, but I thought, oh, maybe by the end of the summer I get to this. It ain't got anywhere close. I've been so overwhelmed with trying to look with my son and daughter. I mean, driving down to Wolf Creek, Oregon, that's, 4 hours, right? That's a whole day to go down there and back, and to be so disappointed to go there, and everything, that the only lead that I had on my son, and now it's like a fucking ghost town. And, and so, okay. All right, guys, love you. I'm going to go. If you want to donate to the ministry, if you know anybody who can donate through Bitcoin, I have that. I should have mentioned that more. Maybe somebody would have heard that, because people have hit pretty big on Bitcoin. So I can take Bitcoin, I can take Cash App, and I can take PayPal. And I'll be putting that towards my legal fund. And I didn't ask for any money for my legal fund until now. So all that will actually do is it'll allow the gold and silver to be held, which I don't think anybody's going to chip in, guys. I had the first day, I had a few people chip in, but nobody's chipped in since then. I haven't even been picking up any new subscribers in the last 3 or 4 live streams, not one new subscriber. So definitely getting hammered here. Father is making this really, really difficult, but I am blessed enough to still have the precious metals that I have. Even if I come up with a couple thousand short, maybe I can still figure that out. But I'll take those in on Friday if I have to. I'm just really trying to pad those to keep those so that I can use those in 6 months. I'm sure that those precious metals be enough to buy that Ecuador property, and maybe I'd be done dealing with the lawsuit. So maybe out of lawsuits then, and I won't need, because I'll have that. So it doesn't make sense though to just sit here knowing that my son is potentially dead, murdered, my daughter raped, murdered, and me hold on to these precious metals. So I'll let them go. I had none of them, you know, 15 months ago. I didn't have anything. I just had everything taken from me. So I told that to Kevin. Even if I can find out if my son and daughter are dead or alive, I would take all those precious metals and every retirement money I have and put it towards that right now. Just to know, I would give me a little bit of rest. I could maybe sleep at night and not keep waking up thinking, where's my daughter right now? Where's my son? Are they alive? Are they suffering? Every night I have this thing. I go through this and I wish I quit doing it to myself, but I just keep thinking, why am I here laying in this bed and I'm not looking for my kids? They could be suffering right now and I'm fucking sleeping. You're a piece of shit, Dad. You know that? And I put myself through the ringer. So that's why I can't be in bed after 5 o'clock. I gotta get up, man. My mind is just shot by that. So um, thank you for all the support. Your support is by comment. Nothing requires anybody to contribute any donation monetary to ever gain favor or to be a part of this ministry. There is no requirement of tithe. It says in the book of Malachi, give, somebody who's pastoring you gospel like me to give me 10% of your earnings. I I don't want your money. I want your time when you have it, because time is something you can't print. These central banks are really good at, the biggest counterfeiters in the world, and they print money, but you can't print time either. So can't get it back. And appreciate, you can be on any other YouTube channel doing anything else right now, and you're listening to my little whiny butt trying to find my son and daughter because I stood in front of the cops. And maybe I should have just to let them arrest my son. But would you let your son get arrested if he did his probation twice and they were still trying to throw him in prison when you already knew you were there, you're part of it, and he actually even still had time left to finish his probation, and they still wouldn't, they still just didn't care. So it is what it is. Um, so if anybody knows where Elijah Werner or Adriana Massey is at, Marshall Radonich is down there in Wolf Creek, Oregon, please contact my email. I don't need to have direct contact him, just to know he's alive. My son or my daughter would be great. I mean, I need something, guys. So maybe it sucks that I think I would have to pay to find out where my son and daughter is at. That the council didn't let me know anything. Um, the only thing I ever found out was my daughter's charges were dropped back in September, and that's when my son went missing, which is almost a year ago. That's what the state troopers said. So what Josephine County said doesn't make sense. What state troopers said, it's more in line with. But also he was in court in October. How could he went missing in September, but he was in open court in October? Their stories are all screwed up, guys. So thank you for your time, and I appreciate everybody who helps out this ministry by just being a lifeline for me, kind of a support. Because I woke up this morning not feeling, yeah, it was morning this morning. I wasn't feeling good at all, and I just felt again that letting this whole Ecuador thing go is a big thing. I've been anticipating this, and maybe I shouldn't have been so forward with thinking that I can get there. But I've got to get this taken care of before I can move on to that. So that's why I need to take care of this um, criminal case so I can move on to the civil case. So appreciate your support, Cooler. I don't know what you're the only one who gives those, so I don't know what those are, but I do appreciate it. I think there's some kind of monetary tithe attached to that. And I do appreciate your support of the continue coming back again and again and listen to me rattle on. You guys, I'm so blessed. I need to sit here and breathe for a minute and think that I could have already been thrown in contempt of court today, sitting in the back of Lake County Jail, drinking that pissy ass water that they got, getting ready to be hauled off for 10, 15, 20 years in prison. And I'm still here, man. Still have a chance to look at for my son. I feel blessed, man. I feel blessed. I'm still here. You know what I'm saying? I feel blessed. I could be gone right now, guys. We would never talk to each other ever again. I don't think I would, who knows what the internet would be like in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 10. I bet you that has stuck me for as many years because I fought it as I possibly can. The judge would have thrown the book at me. I'm going to make an example of you and thrown the book at me. So, wow. I would be, guys, I don't even know what time it is right now. Because my trial's in the morning. Yep, 129. I guarantee I already would have I already would have pissed off the judge because I wouldn't listen, and I would have been asked, "Where's Elijah? Where's my attention? You can't have this trial." And they would have said, "You're interrupting, contempt of court, trial's over." And I'd be sitting in the back right now, either in a hole or in the general tank back in the tank with all the other guys that are there or whatever. And I'm here right now talking to you, so I'm blessed. Thank you. Um, Thank you, Father, for that, to still have a voice and to still be able to look for my son. Because if they had their ways and you were a witness, I wouldn't be here right now. The trial wouldn't have gone all day. I would have stepped out of line and they would have thrown me in jail. I know it. Remember, I got threatened the other day, because I said, hey, my son is dead and possibly murdered. And he said, that's nutty. Don't talk like that. So it's nutty to bring up that your son could be missing, murdered, dead, your daughter, that you get called nutty and speaking gibberish. So I don't think the trial would have offended very well with Paul Palmer, who hadn't done anything to prepare the trial. So that'd have been a total mistrial for sure. And I'm glad that Father told Paul Charis to judge to, try to set a third attorney. And so I went, instead of allowing them to file a third attorney after 15 months trying to let the system do, I have to take my precious metals now for the money that hard work, a lot of work to take a lot of hit of those to get this attorney. So Again, I won't ask again after this one. If you have any way to tithe, don't make it a small amount, because you can use that. So unless you have a large amount, please don't tithe to the ministry. Well, that's selfish of you. No, I'd rather have somebody tithe to the ministry that's not going to miss any money. They can blow off $15,000 like it's a freaking a little package that they put on their little car. These people spend that kind of money for wheels and tires on their car. Just wheels and tire could pay for my court case right now. But I'm not trying to play on your heartstrings. I'm a veteran. I served this country. I took an oath to the Constitution. I'm going to defend that. And even if I die trying, that's what a veteran does. You know, when you take an oath to something, you sometimes death is when that oath is broken, right? But it's not, because to the death, you know, do us part. So I'm thankful, guys. I'll try to come on a little later. Like I said, I'm a little tired today. I just feel a little out of it. You know what I'm saying? Um, I just feel a little whipped today. Like I said, listing that property for $19,000 took the wind out of my sail. Like I said, I just had somebody offer me more money than that in just a Tesla wall and $500 payments, but I can't use that right now. So it has the value, um, but I need the cash. Sometimes cash is king in this case. So the attorney looked at this gold and asked to see it, but he said I'd prefer cash. So I got to get that cash, guys. So I don't like doing financial things. I'm so tired of finances, and we all have them, but that's why I'm to get to where I don't really need anything anymore and try to live my life the way I do, to bring his least amount. I'm a total minimalist. My dogs use more water than I do. So um, please continue to support this ministry by coming back when you have more time. And I'm so thankful that this isn't the last live stream. This morning would have been the last live stream ever, guys. That's just freaking amazing. You know what I'm saying? I love you guys. Appreciate that. That's amazing that we're still here and we're still able to have live streams. So um, share this content. If anybody knows where Elijah Werner or Adriana Massey is, my son and daughter, will you please contact um, John Caligo. You can contact me. You don't need to have any conversation with me as far as they're alive. Um, that's it. I just would like to know something. So that's where my goal is, to try to figure out where my son and daughter are at, and go from there. So I've got everything. I'm putting everything I can at this guy's right now. And I love Father more than I love this too. So, I know he's in control. So don't be upset or anxious, or don't pray for anything other than Father. If you have me in your prayers for anything other than Father's will for me, Adriana, and Elijah. Okay. Please don't, no matter what the suffering, if it's longer, if it's another year or two, I don't know how long, much more I can take, but I'm going to try to endure to the end. That's all I can do, is die trying, right? So thank you for your support by coming in here and leaving awesome comments and being a part of this ministry. I don't know how to land it through this last almost 15 months, and here I am sitting out of jail and somebody to talk to, and not out here and just having to talk to the wall or the dogs. Thank you, Father, for the blessing of this ministry. You guys are a blessing to me, more than any gold and silver or money could buy. You truly are. You are more substance I've obtained, brothers and sisters, that I never had in the last, you know, since this channel's been started. It's unfathomable how many people I think that Father has brought me to, because I thought I only just had one. So if it's 10, that's 9 more. If it's 20, if it's 30, that is so many people to be with, brothers and sisters, because I'm a loner. You know what I'm saying? I live away from society. I love coming online. I'll be social, but I need to be kind of away from society, because I'm kind of a set apart kind of person. I do my thing. So thank you for being a part of this ministry, and try to remember I'm just one guy over here, and then there's the rest of you guys, which I'm part of the whole, right? I'm not this channel. I don't define High Desert Faith and Truth Ministries. You do. I couldn't make this channel, wouldn't be High Desert Faith and Truth Ministries without you. I could sit here and just make content and not have subscribers, and it can go out, but here's an ear to hear. Here's an eye to see. So thank you so much for that hearing ear, and the eye that sees, so that this doesn't just go into the ether and not be heard. Even if just one of you hears it today, brothers, sisters, I'm telling you, it's not vain to me. So, and I know there's more than one of you, but that's how I've always worked on this platform since, I don't know, 12 years ago. Was that 2012, 13? I don't remember when I started my first channel, but definitely are there's just so much value that I take from this channel, and I don't feel like that's why I try to spend a lot of time in here, because if I've taken anything from you, I want to give it back by giving you as much of this gospel that I can possibly share with you. So pass that along, guys. Go share the king is nigh. Look up. He said, for your redemption doth nigh. It's not the end of the world. Actually, things are supposed to get a lot more worse, intense at this point in time. So hold on. Hold on to the reins. Let Father steer the ship. But, if you will, um, it's going to get tough, guys. So I don't think this is the end of the road for me. I think things are going to get potentially even stronger and even worse at this point before they ever do get better for me. So, um, if it's death that brings that, that's okay too. If I have to struggle to my very last day, it's okay. Um, I'll cry and whine and bitch and moan the whole time. So, all right. Love you, brothers, sisters. Pastor Revelation, Pastor Apocalypse. Whoa.